Have a nice Wednesday. Gregory, good morning to you. Greg.
Yes, sunshine.
Did you get the lovely smell out there?
No.
Did you
What
not?
else?
Oh my God, I went into the kitchen, there was a smell of toast. And then the rage got up on me. I says, that's like Caroline Orr again making toast. But it wasn't, it was somebody else, it was Katie.
Wow.
It smells lovely.
Toast, nice. How do you
Toast?
like your toast?
How do you like your toast in the morning? And plenty of butter.
Yeah, me too. I think butter must be bad for you, is it? Because it's so delicious.
I know, isn't
I
it?
like it burnt,
Isn't
let it
fun?
go cold, and then just put about an inch of butter
But
on
cold a cold toast?
Yep.
You're joking. Hot toast with melted... What?
it. How do you like your toast? Oh, wait, 60, 25.
Don't like it that way.
Well,
You could eat yesterday's toast then, that's the case.
No, not cold. I don't want the butter melting.
Do you not?
No, I want...
You want to taste it.
And it has to be a bit
See,
black.
if you see... I remember one of the dietitians saying, if you see your track of your teeth and your, say, the bread or the toast and that, there's too much butter on it. But if it's melted, you never know then, you see.
No, who's going to be looking for the track of the teeth? Seriously. I'd pop my teeth out and then not worry about it.
Your teeth look good for fake, I'll tell you. They look good.
All right, Lee, get out of here, will you?
Right.
All right, it is the 9 till noon show just around the corner. Let's get a news update, though, first, and we'll say good morning, Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The mental health of residents in the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District is said to be affected due to repeated water outages. Cahirlock of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly, says frustrations are growing and residents are at their wits' ends. One resident in the Bomney area has recorded 84 outages since September. Councillor Kelly says attempts to receive valuable response from Ishka Éireann is proving difficult. He says people can no longer continue to live the way they have been forced to.
Their compliances are breaking down. They're having to spend hard-earned money to fix washing machines, dishwashers. So it's actually getting to a stage where they're having to take their children to different areas where there's facilities to wash, whether that's their parents' house, their friend's house, whatever it may be. And I mean, we're in 2023. This is absolutely shocking, absolutely ridiculous.
The Irish Hospital Consultants Association is warning the patient health in the North West is at risk due to excessive delays to care. Over 131,000 people are on a waiting list at hospitals within the Ceuta University Healthcare Group. This includes Letterkenny University Hospital. Michaela Clark has more.
Waiting lists for outpatient appointments, inpatient and day case treatment and procedures in the North West and West have increased by 3% since the start of the year. Latest figures show that 2,850 appointments and operations were cancelled at hospitals in the Ceuta Group between December 2022 and January this year. With no additional acute hospital beds planned this year, the IHCA has warned that the growing shortage of essential acute hospital beds and consultants across the region is resulting in waiting lists for treatment that is impacting on patient outcomes. IHCA President Professor Robert Landers says there is a serious concern that unmanageable waiting lists are impacting some of the most vulnerable patients. He says government needs to agree, fund and timetable plans to expand hospital capacity and consultant staffing.
Supermarkets and grocery stores will be asked what they intend to do to lower food prices for the consumer today. Representatives of the major chains, smaller retailers and the grocery industry are attending talks at the Department of Enterprise. Food inflation is still rising despite prices falling back in other areas. However, IFA President Tim Cullinan says farmers don't want prices to fall.
I've been looking at CSO figures there over the last few days, and over the last 10 years, actually the price of food, fresh food, is falling by in the region of 5.4%. There's no sector in the community that has seen no increase over the last 10 or 20 year period. Farmers have been dealing with massive inflation in the cost of production over the last year in particular. The retailers go to jump on the bandwagon.
Looking at the weather for today, there will be frequent showers or longer spells of rain with occasional sunny outbreaks. Some showers will be heavy and there's a slight chance of isolated thunderstorms. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees and moderate to fresh westerly winds. That's all for now. We'll be back with more news and the obituary notices at 10 o'clock.
Aldi at Super Value gets you 40 washes with Ariel washing powder. At Aldi, only $8.36 gets you 40 washes with Almat washing powder plus washing up liquid, plus all-purpose cleaner, plus polish, plus bleach, plus bathroom and window cleaner, and still have $4.34 left over. You won't just like more value, you'll love it. Aldi, every day amazing. Super Value price checked on supervalue.ie 4th of 4th 23. Super Value may sell equivalent own brand products at lower prices. Details at aldi.ie/swap. Excludes offers, products and prices may vary.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. How are you keeping? I do hope you are very well this damp and somewhat colder Wednesday morning, though things are going to improve, I think, as the day wears on and certainly into the weekend. It's 9:05 on this Wednesday, the 10th of May, and we have another one for you that is packed to the brim with stuff to keep you informed and entertained. And just like we have all week, we want to see loads of your texts coming in, your messages coming in, your opinions. Every opinion counts, so get yours into us on whatever we're talking about or whatever you want to talk about yourself. The WhatsApp and text number, just to remind you at the top of the show, is 086 60 25,000, and your calls come into us on 07491 25,000, and emails also comments@highlandradio.com. Let's start with the Finn Valley Voice this morning as we have a quick run through what's making the papers today. In 2018, medics were unsure when or indeed if Michaela Breen would walk again, but on Thursday morning at Finn Valley AC, the inspirational convoy schoolgirl won a silver medal in the 800-metre race. This was about more than a race and a medal. 5 years ago, Michaela also medalled on the same blue and white track in Stranraer in the wheelchair race, and she's pictured both in her wheelchair 5 years ago and recently winning that 800 metres silver. Congratulations to her. On to the Inish Times this morning. Defective blocks campaigners are urging Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien to take the views of homeowners into account ahead of the publication of regulations for the Enhanced Redress Scheme. Members of the Micah Action Group, as well as defective blocks campaigners from Limerick, Mayo and Clare, are due to have a virtual briefing with the Minister today on the regulations for the so-called Enhanced €2.2 billion scheme. We'll keep you updated on what goes on at that virtual meeting, of course, on this radio station. The Donegal Post this morning, a contractor for the building of 42 housing units at Drumacrin in Bundoran is expected to be announced within weeks, and they should be on site sometime in July. Members of the Donegal Municipal District were told at their monthly meeting yesterday. Tara Quinn, executive architect, said that the letter of intent to the successful contractor had been issued, with insurances and bonds being checked before a formal appointment in the coming weeks and the necessary legal protocols being adhered to. That was broadly welcomed, as you can imagine, at that meeting. On to the Irish Times now, and Donald Trump's woes continue, have got somewhat worse. He's facing a whole host of litigation, but this could certainly have some impact on his bid to be the President of the United States again. A jury in New York has found former US President Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming a magazine columnist. However, the jury did not accept that he had raped her. The jury found that Mr. Trump should pay €5 million in total damages to the writer Jean Carroll, arising from both the findings of sexual abuse and defamation. The case in New York was a civil action rather than a criminal case. Mr. Trump will not face any criminal penalties arising from the jury finding. Legislation in New York allows for civil cases to be brought by alleged victims of sexual assault after the statute of limitations for criminal cases has expired. Ms. Carroll had alleged that she had been raped by Mr. Trump in the changing room of a department store in New York City nearly 30 years ago. The former president had strongly denied any wrongdoing and had alleged that the allegations against him had been made up by Miss Carroll. However, Mr. Trump did not put up a defence and did not give evidence directly in the case, although he had suggested when in Ireland last week that he could turn up in court. And there was a video released in the last couple of weeks of his deposition as it relates to that case, where he was asked about various comments he had made in the past, and it was probably quite incriminating. I don't know, because maybe we're all a little bit peeved off with GEA at the moment, just with what's happening with the inter-county team. I don't know, but there hasn't been a massive uproar or conversation, has there, in Donegal and the Northwest as a whole as it relates to the controversy about the televising of games? Well, the GEA and RTE split a €1.1 million dividend on back of healthy profits from GEA Go long before it moved Saturday evening games behind a paywall, the most recently filed accounts show. As controversy around the streaming service intensifies, latest accounts for GEA Go show the joint venture was able to pay a dividend of $1.1 million on the back of healthy profits in 2021, even before the increase in pay-per-view games. This comes as Virgin Media questioned RTE's commercial partnership with the GAA. Now, this is messy. It said the GEA did not approach other broadcasters to see whether they were interested in broadcasting games after it exited the deal with Sky. The existing deal with Sky finished at the end of 2022 season. So we could be forgiven for thinking that this was the only show in town. But Virgin Media or any other broadcasters weren't approached to say, look, the deal with Sky is going here. Are you interested in it? Instead, it was just gifted to RTE. They were able to work with the GEA and come up with this scheme. When Sky Television decided not to renew its GEA rights, the GEA did not approach any other broadcasters, but arbitrarily decided to put them behind a paywall, Virgin Media said in a statement. Now, what I don't understand is that there are many other platforms RTE has to show games if there's a clash of games. So a big hurling game and a provincial final. I mean, stick it on the news channel. I think most people have access to the RTE news channel. You could show two games at the same time. There's no shame in that. Instead, they put a big hurling game that would enjoy an audience of between 250 and 400,000 people on pay-per-view effectively, and said there was no alternative. Well, there's an alternative for you. Stick it on the news channel. Stick the weaker game on the news channel, and most people, as I say, can access that or access it online, do it for free. Anyway, if you have a view on that at the moment, 086 60 25,000. Junior Minister Niall Collins has said publicly he absolutely knew his wife was interested in purchasing a piece of public land before it was raised at a local area meeting in 2007. This is in the Mail and other papers. Now, that was the final remaining question. Not final remaining question, one of the last remaining questions as it relates to this deal. In other words, at this local area meeting, it was decided that this land could go for sale. He was part of that process, and the question was: did he know at that point that his wife was interested in the land? When he said, "Yep," he didn't dissent or recuse himself, and he says, "Yep, we'll allow this land to go to sale." Mr. Collins was a councillor in Limerick. A section of public land in his local area of Patrickswell received several expressions of interest, though we haven't really seen proof of these several expressions of interest. At a meeting of the Bruff Local Electoral Area Council, it was proposed that the land would be sold, and this was seconded by another councillor. Mr. Collins was present at the meeting, and while he now says in hindsight he should have recused himself, which means effectively saying, look, I have an interest in this, I'm going to step out until such time as it's dealt with. That's really effectively what recuse means. He believes he did not break any law. Asked if his knowledge of his wife, Dr. Emer O'Connor's interest in purchasing the land represented a material interest in the matter, and therefore he should not have attended, Mr. Collins said that was his judgment at the time, which I think is remarkable. The local area committee does not have the power to sell land. This can only be done at a meeting of the full county council, but the county council, of course, can't consider it until such time as it is approved at that local meeting. So that rumbles on. I'm not sure if anything else will come from that. Do you think the moon landing happened? Honestly, we haven't really done it since, we as a population, and I'm not one of these people really that subscribes to I don't know if conspiracy theories as such, but if you look at the yoke that is supposed to have landed on the moon, like it's held together with tape and tinfoil. But anyway, if you do look at the footage, it's remarkable, and they can't really. And what I think really is quite interesting too. There was a recent smaller probe sent up to the moon, and it had the best brains and all the technology behind it, and they failed to actually be able to land it. Yet this mishmash of 1960s technology was able to land on the moon. They got out, had a walk around, got out and flew back. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen, all right, but there's an awful lot there that would make you wonder, did it or did it not happen? But anyway, the reason I mentioned it is because it's in the Star today. Russia has tried to spark real-life Star Wars by claiming the US never landed on the moon. Dmitry Rogozin, the former head of Russia's Roscosmos space agency, said he did not believe astronaut Neil Armstrong made one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind in 1969. He claimed he'd spent the past 10 years studying Armstrong's historic Apollo 11 missions, but had found no documentary evidence of the Americans winning the space race. The Russian former deputy prime minister also dismissed 5 subsequent lunar landings in which American astronauts also walked on the moon. In a post on social media website Telegram, Rogozin said he did not believe any of them had made it. He said, "It was not clear to me how the United States, at that level of technology developed of the 60s of the last century, did what they still cannot do now." So as to say, I mean, I'm not backing the Russians on this, but if you look at it, and if you have a close look at the ship that did land, the first one, it doesn't look fit for it. But anyway, what do you think? 086 60 25,000. In the Sun today, weight loss jabs also boost protection against cancer, a new study shows. The treatments such as Wegovy and Ozempic were found to help restore the body's natural killer cells, which can fend off and destroy tumours. Being obese or overweight reduces the body's defences against cancer as vital cells are rendered useless. Irish researchers studied the effect of the weight loss drugs, active ingredients, on 20 obese people. They found that after 6 months of the weekly jabs known as GLP-1s, the body's killer cell function was recharged. Professor Donal O'Shea of the Irish Health Service Executive said our findings represent very positive news for people living with obesity on GLP-1 therapy. So I'm not sure if that's relevant to you, but anyway, might be some useful information. And finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror, Wild Youth, they did all right last night. I don't think the lead singer followed the rehearsals because the cameras were all over the place in trying to track his running around. And in fairness, he didn't seem to sing that much. But that being said, Wild Youth did really well last night. But they were left devastated after Ireland again failed to qualify for the Eurovision Song Contest Grand Final for a 5th year in a row. Conor O'Donoghue, wearing a gold jumpsuit and green shamrock necklace, was surrounded by pyrotechnics as he delivered the song's vocal climax. But despite giving it their all, Wild Youth lost out on the first semi-final last night in the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool. There was no comment from Wild Youth afterwards, with disappointed Conor leaving the arena as voting concluded and the results became clear. And we're going to speak to someone who was at it last night. There was some very weird acts that got through. I'm not really sure what it's about anymore. It's not. I don't think there's any point sending someone over there that can sing or whatever, because it's just, there was a couple of acts in particular that were absolutely crazy. But there was a couple that were pretty good and they got through. Anyway, be that as it may, I'm not able to watch it on Saturday anyway, so no loss. But a shame for the guys, because I thought they did really, really well. Okay, let us take a quick break. If you want to comment on that or anything else, by the way, get in touch with us. And just a reminder, if you want to watch the show as well, get onto our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, across our Facebook pages, Highland Radio News and Sport, and just Highland Radio. Comment and interact with us there. Good morning to Stephen and Paul, who are already with us, and the rest of the crew watching across all the channels. And we'll be back, as I say, after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Attention all home and business owners. Are you looking for the best value for money when it comes to plumbing and tile solutions? At McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tiles, our experienced staff are ready to provide top quality services and products that meet your needs and exceed your expectations. Our focus is on providing expert advice and top quality products. McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tile showroom in Buncrana is dedicated to delivering great value for your money. Visit our showroom today.
Sometimes it's just bad luck, but sometimes it's negligence. From minor bumps to life-changing injury, every accident has a story. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll assess the situation, advise on solutions, and lead the way if any litigation is to follow. From motor accidents and workplace accidents to slips, trips and falls, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. Let's get you started on the road to recovery. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help? In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
OK, the time is just turned 20 minutes past 9. Now, the government is being warned that the proposed sale of alcohol bill could come at enormous cost to Irish society. An analysis of the bill published today points out that the extension of trading hours, along with the removal of limits on the number of licences, will cause increases in alcohol-related disease and violence. Professor Tom Baber is author of the report, The Sale of Alcohol Bill 2022, an analysis of costs and benefits, and he joins us now. Professor, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's very good to have you on the programme. OK, so talk to me a little bit more about these findings and how you came to these, how this report came to these conclusions.
Well, the sale of alcohol bill, excuse my voice.
That's OK, go ahead.
Yeah, the sale of alcohol bill is supposed to simplify things, which is good. And it's supposed to help with the nighttime economy, which isn't bad. But there are lots of other things that are implicit in the bill that are somewhat disturbing from a public health perspective. And that goes with not only expanding the number of licenses, but facilitating home deliveries and increasing the density of outlets and attracting large numbers of people to the central cities and towns. When you put all that together, it's a prescription for the possibility of epidemics of heavy episodic drinking, which is people going out and getting drunk. And that is not necessarily a good thing, particularly for young people. It's not a good thing for the nighttime economy either. So what we're talking about is excess noise, underage drinking, people drinking on the streets, going from one bar to the other, bars catering to heavy drinkers by not allowing people to sit down, vertical drinking bars where they stand up all night and people walk around letting them drink shots. All of these things have been tried and found to be detrimental in other cities. In the UK, Leeds and Manchester, Amsterdam, Australia has had serious problems. We've got a lot of examples and we've got a lot of research that shows the higher the density of the outlets and the more alcohol that's available, the more people get drunk.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you have to be careful with your language in that you talk about the possibility. I mean, really, it's an inevitability. And I think too, particularly having access to alcohol, I mean, it already happens where there are people that drive around with booze in the back of cars and deliver it to homes and what have you. That's just one element of it. And also to, where did this come from? I mean, I haven't met anybody in the public who has been calling for this or wanting this, a liberalisation of these rules, when we see other countries actually really becoming a little bit more conservative in terms of alcohol consumption.
Right. So I'm not familiar with the political situation in Ireland, but it seems like the development of a plan like this, a piece of legislation, came from the Justice Department, but there wasn't consultation with children and families. It was in consultation with public health, emergency departments, hospitals, police. All of them need to be heard from, because I'm sure they're going to have strong opinions based on past experience.
And how did you, when you talk about the findings of this report, how do you conclude a lot of the findings? Is it based on, as you've been outlining there, the experience in other countries? And you mentioned a lot of them, so there's a wealth of information out there. I mean, a lot of it is of course, common sense, but how do you provide evidence for some of this stuff in terms of, the likely increase in alcohol consumption and alcohol-related harm, for an example?
Yeah, it goes far beyond opinion, far beyond common sense. There is now a scientific literature published in peer-reviewed journals, which means that the studies have been conducted carefully by reputable social and behavioral scientists to measure the effects of both expanding alcohol availability and outlet density, and restricting alcohol availability and outlet density. And the research shows predictable changes when you either increase availability or reduce it. We're talking about hundreds of studies conducted in a variety of different countries.
And it's not only too either, I suppose, the impact it has on people. If you are going to go down this route, presumably the entire infrastructure has to change as to how you deal with it, in terms of, what kind of security is required, what level of policing there is, what kind of public transport or private transport is available, the consequences it might have in terms of drink driving or collisions on the road on EDs. I mean, if what it's likely to happen, what you say is to happen, it's the knock-on effect and the infrastructure that also would have to change around it to accommodate it. It's a massive change in how people socialise and consume alcohol.
Yeah. In the UK and Australia, city officials and national officials have been working for years now to reverse the negative health impact of expanding the nighttime economy. And we know from their experience that there are a number of things that could be built into the Irish legislation that would minimize the harm. We don't need to expand the number of licenses. We need to make sure that off-license outlets that are selling alcohol are not open all night, so we need to restrict them as well. We need to do things like providing communities with legal resources so they can comment on expanding the number of pubs in their neighborhood. We can provide further restrictions on training of people who own a license, and to make sure that they're not overselling and pushing alcohol. So home deliveries need age verification so kids aren't getting access to alcohol. So there's a lot of things that could be done.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, it's a very interesting report. A lot of it, I think, is incredibly likely to happen, as well as other as well consequences we have yet to fully discover. But for now, Professor Tom Baber, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Take care. He is an author of that report, The Sale of Alcohol Bill 2022. And just in relation to the impact potentially on emergency departments, a recent study in emergency departments, 29 of them across Ireland, found that alcohol accounted for 6% of all patients presenting. So alcohol a factor in 6% of all patients presenting at emergency departments, which is really quite significant, isn't it? 57% arriving by ambulance of that cohort. In the early hours of a Sunday morning, alcohol-related illness and injuries accounted for 29% of all presentations. That's almost a third of people that turn up on a Sunday in the ED. It's to do with booze. and 6% of all patients is alcohol related, and over half of that 6% must arrive by ambulance, which, as I say, is really not insignificant, is it? Right, okay. Mary Lane joins us on the programme now. Hi, Mary Lane.
Good morning. This is Liverpool calling.
Yes, can we have your vote? So Ireland, no points because we don't get through to the grand final.
We didn't, but they did so well. I'm so proud of them. They were fab.
Yeah, talk to me about the show. It looked like an amazing spectacle. I have to say, I think they did really well in terms of the stuff they presented to recognise the situation in Ukraine. Obviously, Liverpool hosting this. I'll ask you about that first. Liverpool hosting this because Kyiv clearly can't. How did that stuff come across in the audience?
Oh, I spent the first 5 minutes actually bawling, crying, like proper ugly crying. I was so full of emotion. It's the piece that that you could see on the TV, the little boy, the little story. And I looked over at the stage and I could see the little boy on the stage ready for his cue. And oh my God, I just burst out crying. This is just so beautiful. And everybody was just loving it. And everyone was so respectful in the room because they told us in advance, you have to, at the start, everybody has to be totally silent. If anybody makes noise beside you, just thump them to make them be quiet. And, and you could have heard a pin drop in the room. It was outstanding. And then obviously when we got our cue to roar, the place just, you could feel it in your chest. Just, the atmosphere was something else.
All right, so why did Wild Youth not make it through? This was a public vote, and for the first time, people all around the world could vote, except our neighbours in Britain couldn't vote. But the song was good enough, wasn't it? The performance was good enough. It was camp enough. It was loud enough. There was plenty of pyrotechnics. There was some strange acts that went through, really, I think, ahead of us.
Yeah, and so when Croatia got the first getting through, you could hear it in the room, people going, what? But, that's, for me, I'm a massive Eurovision fan for 30 years. I live and breathe it at this time of the year. And I think the fact that it was only a public vote, popularity got the better of people, and it's the stronger of the two semi-finals in my Eurovision opinion. It was a stronger semi-final than Thursday's.
Yeah.
So it was a much tougher competition. I think had it been a band of jury and a popular vote, the jury may have evened the key a wee bit, and we may have got through. But in my own opinion, is that we were in the grey area of we're qualified, but we might not. I wasn't coming to thought, but we're definitely going to get through. I always knew it was a grey area somewhere it could go either way. But I don't think enough was done. By the Irish contingent to promote it enough and to really get in with the whole social media thing. And I suppose I don't think Ireland has moved with the times in terms of how Eurovision is done anymore.
The line, Mary Lane, is absolutely... the line is awful. I'm going to stick with it just for the time being. I wonder, with the culture wars that are going on at the moment, and we've seen brands like Bud Light being pretty much wiped out because they took the wrong stance, as some might see, on certain issues. Do you think the trans controversy played out and worked against the lads, I wonder?
I'm not sure, because I'm actually not sure that news made it too far outside of Ireland.
Right.
No one's talking about it. No, I haven't seen too much on social media about it outside of the Irish news sources. I don't think that was as big a thing as it was, as it may have been within Ireland. But to be honest, it's a story that I actually nearly missed myself. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it was as much of any sort of scandal internationally as maybe what we think it may have had the potential to be. I just think we just in general didn't get on ball with promoting and immersing. I mean, Eurovision publicity is absolutely immersive. If you're not out there every minute of every day garnering the fans, it's not, it's just that you're just not going to. I don't think you're going to get very far just because you happen to have a good song and you like, it's a nice song or it's a worthy winner. You have to get on board with the overall thing. I just don't think RTE have got there yet. I just don't think they're pushing enough time and effort and energy into that side of things. But I come to it with it. As long as we do ourselves proud performance-wise and actually put a good song in, you can say, no, you know what, at least give it a good shot. Not to sound unpatriotic, it doesn't bother me whether they get through or not, because I just love the whole thing of just the culture of it. I love seeing people from all over the continent and the language, and hearing our music from all other parts of the continent. I think it's just a fabulous celebration, and I wish it would. I wish sort of the controversy was of all sorts of things would sort of diminish people.
Well, you know what? Let's just not worry about it.
The fans that were in the room.
Yeah, come here. What was the Croatia like live? I mean, that was something else. That was. I mean, I don't know. And Moldova as well was all. I don't know.
Oh, we have to say in my hotel room here, we're Moldova fans, and we like the Croatian one. Definitely, I don't think it should have got through. But then it's actually going to make for good entertainment on Saturday night.
Finland seemed to absolutely rock the house with their track "Cha Cha Cha." What was that like live?
They were amazing, it was amazing. And I will be a bit annoyed if it does win, because I think there are worthier winners, there are better songs in it. But in terms of entertainment factor and absolute gimbality, they were fabulous. And the Finnish fans here are amazing. You can spot a Finn from a mile away. Okay. They're all walking around in their fluorescent green puffballs. Posts, they're amazing, and everybody here is fantastic. And Liverpool, oh my God, I can't commend Liverpool anymore. They're fabulous. It's a beautiful place to be. They have gone all out on Eurovision from the second you step off the plane. The place is Eurovision Central. It's outstanding.
Right. Okay. You chatted to the lads afterwards. What were they? What was the mood like? I think you got chatting to the drummer.
I got speaking to the drummer afterwards, and they're gutted. And they were fairly well oiled now by the time I got chatting to them. But I told them how proud we are and that they should be proud of themselves and that they did such a good job and they did us proud in their performance and their delivery and everything. And we were at a distance because he was still in the delegates area, whereas I was kind of, there was kind of a couple of meters of a difference. We were kind of shouting across one another. Yeah. And he just said, I wish I could come over there and give you a hug. So I see her stand for a selfie, so he climbs up on top of the barrier and takes a selfie. So I'm so proud to have seen Ireland live in Eurovision. For me, it's 30 years in the making.
All right, brilliant, Mary.
It's a brilliant experience.
And I love your enthusiasm, and that's what it is. It's about a bit of fun. There's enough serious stuff going on in this world at the moment. So let's have a bit of fun with it. Thanks, Mary Lane. Have a lovely time over in Liverpool. We're also joined on the programme now by Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Greg. How's it going?
Not too bad at all, Gary. Did you watch it last night?
I did, Greg. I did watch it from start to finish, but very disappointed that Ireland didn't get through.
We deserved it, didn't we? We deserved to get through.
Exactly, and I thought it was actually a great song.
Yeah.
And they put on a great performance, so I'm just kind of baffled as to why they didn't make it through.
Well, when you see Serbia getting through, I mean, Serbia, I don't know. It's just I didn't think it was a very strong song. And we mentioned some of the others that got through as well. I mean, there were some good songs. Norway, I thought, a good Eurovision song. You like Sweden, like myself, Sweden. I mean, that performance was astonishing too. That's a proper pop song, isn't it? That will do very well.
Incredible. Personally, I think Sweden will win this year.
Yeah.
Because Loreen obviously won it back in 2012, I think. So, and an incredible performance and incredible voice.
Yeah, indeed.
But I realised the UK, actually, no one in the UK was able to vote last night. So it meant that nobody could vote for Ireland, which I find a bit strange, to be honest, Greg.
Me too, because we could have done with those votes, couldn't we?
Exactly. And I think that maybe had a bearing on Ireland's exit, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think you're
because
right.
I was sure Ireland would get through.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the lads, but I was very disappointed myself, so I'm sure they must be devastated not to make Saturday's final.
That being said,
but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and that being said, I suppose they get the publicity, they get the platform. They're already doing quite well. They're young, they're handsome. Myself and yourself won't cry too much for. We won't cry too much for them.
True enough.
Do you know what I mean? Okay, but would you watch on Thursday, or did you watch last night just because of Ireland's involvement, Gary?
I watch both semis every year, Greg, and I always watch the final, maybe with a few family members. So, but yeah, I'll be watching Thursdays as well.
All right, good stuff.
I'll definitely be tuned in for Thursday, and then obviously Saturday night there'll probably be a few beverages involved for Saturday night show.
Well, no bother. All right then. Cheers, Gary. Thank you very much indeed for that. Right, okay, that was a quick take on the Eurovision. If you've any other views on it, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. Having watched Eurovision for 35 years and being a fan and Irish, I can say the song from Ireland and the band were weak. They performed well on the night, but you can't compare what we send with the likes of Lorraine from Sweden. We need to up our game and stop selecting on the Late Late Show. Yeah, do it a different way. But you see, is there any point taking it as a serious song contest? Shall we listen to some of the performances that were on last night? This is the Croatia people. It was very, very different. This is what got through for Moldova. I suppose very culturally appropriate. This was a cracker from Switzerland. They might do really well too. This was the fan favourites on the night from Finland. Don't know how Czechia got through with this, but anyway, they did. Israel sailed through, no doubt. She's brilliant, though, in fairness. She is a proper pop star. Portugal always sends something again, very culturally Portugal, and they always seem to get through. And this is the song Gary was referencing from Sweden. Brilliant presentation on the night as well. Serbia. Don't know how they got through, but anyway. And the first song of the night from Norway. Very Nordic, very Viking-like. Tell you, Marty Whelan doesn't get a looking. There you go. All right, that was a run through what the Eurovision last night. Most of you were probably watching Man City, Real Madrid. I don't even know the result, and I actually am a football fan as well. But anyway, I am reliably informed by people that did watch it that City likely will come through the second leg. All right, let's take a break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
If you're having a party, BizPrint can create invitations, banners, posters and photo frames for any occasion. Give your guests a fun way to create great memories with props and photo frames. Call BizPrint on 91777955 or visit bizprint.ie.
Go straight down that bendy road. There's a child of Prague in the front garden, but if you see Mrs. Malone's washing out, you've gone too far.
National Broadband Ireland is delivering our high-speed fibre broadband network to over 560,000 premises across Ireland.
Keep an eye out for that child of Prague and you'll be sucking diesel.
We'll deliver high-speed fibre broadband straight to your door, and we have your air code so we won't need directions. Discover your delivery date at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
A reminder to passengers going on holiday, take the power of An Post Money. Pay for things all over the world with foreign currency in cash and on the An Post Money currency card powered by MasterCard with 24/7 card support from real people. And with the app, you can set currency rate alerts and we'll tell you when your target rate is reached. Power your travel money with An Post Money. Search An Post Travel Money or visit your local post office. T's and C's apply. An Post Money currency card is issued by PPSE USA pursuant to licence by MasterCard International. PPSE USA is authorised by the National Bank of Belgium and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide foreign currency cash.
Okay, Tim Kelly, Strategic Head of TCS, Threat Management Centres in UK, Ireland and Europe. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am fantastic. Great to have you on the show. Now, we're speaking off the back of a report which finds the Northwest region is attractive location for cybersecurity investment. So why particularly?
Well, there are a couple of reasons, right? One is that cost of living. Cost of living in Letterkenny, it's going up everywhere, but in Letterkenny, comparatively speaking, from metropolitan centres is lower, right? We've got a great base of talent, the TU consolidations, lots of master's programs, and a lot of good pipeline coming through. So, you know, TCS decided we'll put one of the 11 we have around the globe right here in Letterkenny.
Yep, so already 250 cybersecurity-related jobs based here in the Northwest. That's only a fraction, though, of cyber professionals in the Republic of Ireland. That percentage could grow rapidly with the right investment then, so I'd imagine.
It would. Investments required for all things that are hyper growth, right? And cyber jobs are no exception. We see demand quadrupling over the short term, and the problem's not in demand, it's in supply, right? So the opportunity, like we always wait for, is there. It's just a matter of capitalizing it as quickly as we can.
Yeah, and these are good, well-paid jobs for the most part.
Yeah, cyber is a well-compensated and never been better compensated profession. And the jobs are all levels, entry level, medium term, senior positions. We have clients, we have over 20 global brands around the country here in Letterkenny already. And the demand's never been stronger.
Are we able to satisfy the demands for workers with the people that we are seeing qualify out of Ireland? I know, is that an area? Do we need to be targeting maybe in schools to educate students that cybersecurity is a real good option with jobs available and to focus your third level in that area?
Yeah, we do. We do a lot of this activity, particularly in third level traditionally. But it's never enough, and it's never early enough, right? So we have a number of programs that we try to develop in secondary levels. We even did some primary level education just to, help to balance the equation from a gender profile, from a, diversification profile. Because the one thing you need in cyber is a real expansive exposure in the world.
Mm. Well, before we talk more about what kind of investment and is required, where do you see the future of that? Because it's ever evolving, and I imagine the way we're seeing AI, come to the fore now, and how it might be involved going forward. Will that create? Do you believe challenges or perhaps even cybersecurity fighting opportunities for this sector? Where do you see? Because sometimes we talk about the next 5, 10, 50. This could be next year, really, that we're having to really adapt.
It's great. I mean, it's funny that a lot of this generative AI has been in progress for years without substantive, practical, this can help me write an essay effect. Right. So if you think of spam and phishing, right, which is I try to get Greg on the hook so I can invade his bank account. So those emails were never particularly well structured linguistically. Now they're great. So if you have an adversary who could pipe it through an AI, guess how much harder that is for the human being and the defensive systems to detect, right? So every development technology has really had a subsequent imperative for cybersecurity, right? As we get more technically sophisticated, we have to get better, and we have to get it right all the time. And that has really changed a lot of the game that we work on.
Yeah, okay. So where does money need to be invested then, say, for instance, in this area here in the Northwest to potentially capitalize on the potential that there is?
Okay, so I'll give you an example, right? I just want to tell one quick story. So our global head of CSR was over just last week to celebrate one of our local students, Laura, who won a global IT competition, right? One of 40,000 students. And he was asked what he was doing at the World Economic Forum last week. And he said, Laura, I told the story about you, how we just need to get out of the way in order for the youth of tomorrow to be able to build that future. Right. So the kind of investment we need is exactly that, in education, in OT, operational technologies and critical infrastructures. They all have embedded security. Your Alexas at home, embedded security. The old FOSS, now Solus, if we had practical labs that physically built out to develop those skills in kids in electronics and machinery and robotics, we'd be a hell of a lot further along. Needless to say, the education initiatives and some of the recruitment needs to step up as well.
Yeah, but Tim, this sounds very much like the people that you're trying to speak to need to get this. They need to understand it. They need to buy into what you're cooking. Do you know that sort of a way?
That's correct.
Is that a struggle? Because you're really perhaps operating 5 or 6 years, if not more, ahead of the decision makers. They need
That's 100%.
They need to trust people like yourself to say, no, this is what's coming. And if we need an expert or professional at this point in 5 years' time, now is when you need to be starting them on the conveyor belt.
Yeah, you're 100%. It comes from two prongs, right? The prong of helping parents and students and decide and that cyber is amongst their career choices, right? But then there's also this, we try to get ahead of the technology curve, which has significant financial investment, which is never goes around far enough. And then we have the all-island aspects, right? We always talk about all-island approaches to this. There's an all-Ireland research center been in the proposal stages for ages. So imagine if we could bring to bear all that talent northwest, south of the border, north of the border, and a groundswell hub into that. We can really start to make an impact and bring a lot of these jobs because, quite frankly, pieces like TCS, we can't satisfy the demand. We just can't.
Yeah. What courses are available? I don't want to ask you specific courses. We could be here all day because I presume there's shared skills. But in other words, where can people study and what do they need to study really for a career in cybersecurity?
Yeah, it's interesting because cybersecurity takes from all branches, right? Even the liberal arts. It's more about critical thinking than it is about anything and problem solving, right? The ATUs all have programs specifically in cyber. IT has always been a problem solving career choice. NWRC is just now starting a foundational degree north of the border in cyber. So there are programs abound that kids can take advantage of for choices. Even in the junior leaving cert, there's now an option for cyber. So those forces are coming to bear, but not nearly force enough to create the groundswell, right? We talk about gravity wells where you have a couple of anchor tenants like a supermarket that pull in and create the opportunity for the region. we at TCS Ireland try to bring all that from TCS to bear. So do the regional skills guys. So does Optum. So does Advantio. We're all trying to do our best. We just need more hands at the till.
I mean, it's amazing opportunities. Currently, I believe 30% of cyber roles in this region are filled by people from within the region. So that obviously is 70% that move here. I mean, with a quadrupling in the numbers and with the proper, there's real diversification opportunities here as well for people who want to go into different paths and what have you. Okay, hopefully the powers that be take it on board, and we need to listen to people in the know. Tim, what do you see as the biggest cybersecurity threat over the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we've commissioned a lot of reports. One of the reasons we're on today is because we're part of the Cyber Ireland cluster, which has over 7,500 professionals, right? But if you talk about the challenges we all face, we talk about the efficiencies that our adversaries are creating, right? You talk about ransomware. Everyone's heard about ransomware. People lock up your PCs. Guess what? Those adversaries now are skipping locking up your computers. They're going in without letting you know, they're grabbing your data, they're pushing it outside your perimeters, and then they're saying, hey, just pay me, right? Because they don't want to maintain their software, they don't want to maintain the decryptors. Imagine all those business challenges we all have going native in the cloud and developing technologically, except your adversary is doing that as well, diversifying across countries. It's an unbelievable challenge. If you staple to that some of the AI stuff you referenced earlier, Greg, it's a pretty big hill to climb.
And it's a race, isn't it? Because, the ransomware, holding something to ransom, very shortly, if not already, that's going to seem like labor-intensive and old-fashioned, like something from an old movie, right? So they're always looking to develop. It's a race, isn't it? How quickly, you can shut off their access points, or how quickly they can develop new ones. It's going to be a constant race, and they've got the best brains in the world, and we need the best brains in the world.
And they have state actors, right?
Yeah.
So we're individuals and companies, and that's why Europe and state agencies are banding together to take some of the lessons we've learned. Are learning in Ukraine to develop combinations of public and private partnerships, right? Because you need scale. You need to be able to develop these centers, and the more of these assets that we have in the region, the better off we are.
Right. Finally, in the last couple minute or so, there's exciting opportunities. There's no doubt. Speak to, I don't know, maybe even someone who wants to reskill or has young people looking for opportunities. They would love them to be able to stay in the region and live and raise a family here, rather than feel they have to travel the other end of the earth just to get together a deposit for a house. So, what speak directly to those people. What do they need, or should they be doing?
Right. You may think because you're not an IT or a cyber person that this is not for you. And I guarantee you, critical thinking, musicians, guitar players, all of you can skilled at piecing apart problems and putting solutions together. There are first steps you can take, tester courses, TCS and Cyber Ireland. We have education initiatives around. There's plenty of them online. Don't be daunted. You don't need to be a nerd rocket science to get into this thing. It's just not that. It is about saying what is and what is not a problem and needs to be looked at with greater inspection. And we all do that in our day, every day.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. And great potential. Lovely to chat to you, Tim. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate the time.
Take care. No, and maybe it's going to inspire someone to go down that route and do very well for themselves, we would hope. Okay, that is the first hour pretty much in the bag. We're going to take a break now for the news and obituary notes. It's actually I'm a little bit early. I have time for a couple of texts here. I think Wildluth youth made a mistake by sacking their choreographer, impacted on votes, I believe. I think it has the potential. Steve says, I feel so sorry for anyone who was watching the Eurovision nonsense, considering Real Madrid were playing Man City in a brilliant game. But some people think that's nonsense too, the amount of money in that sport and what have you. But anyway, listen, each to their own. I don't think anyone is stupid for watching the football. I don't think anyone is stupid for watching Eurovision. And I don't think anyone would be stupid for switching the telly off and reading a book. It's whatever makes people happy is important, isn't it? Right, okay. Thanks for the text or the message anyway. Steve, we'll be back with more after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI, live happy.
Transform your home with a visit to McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny, located at the Portlink Business Park just off the Port Road. You'll find a huge selection of top quality suites, beds and mattresses, also slide robes and custom-made dining and occasional furniture, with prices to suit every budget. See the great choice for yourself at our showroom, McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. Click mcginleysfurniture.com.
With everyone looking to shrink their bill these days, Dunnes Stores gives you more ways to save with double savers. First, you'll save in the aisles when you fill your trolley with fantastic low prices across thousands of great products. Then you'll save again at the till with our 10 off 50 grocery vouchers. Shrink your bill today and get a trolley worth €54.66 for just €44.66. Double savers from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Attention all pet lovers and owners. Gary's Pet World Letterkenny is open 7 days per week, offering the very best value on all pet foods, accessories, grooming and care products. Call in and let our staff help you spoil your pet today. You will be amazed by the range of product for all pets, with exceptional value on all leading brands. Alternatively, you can browse and buy online at petworld.ie and we will deliver to your home.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Why did I choose Ulster? I wanted a university who could give me the biggest possible future, but also the best possible time now. Somewhere I could make friends and have good crack, but also to set me up for the best job possible. I'm planning to take up one of the study abroad options, and then my big plan is to specialise in media law in LA. But for now, NI has one of the lowest student living costs in the UK. So, night markets, here I come.
Learn why over 30,000 students choose Ulster at ulster.ac.uk/go north. Apply now for this September.
Jake's famous All-American Burgers has crossed the Atlantic and is now in Kelly's American Roadside Diner. Always tasty, always fresh, and so damn satisfying. Call in now for a taste of Southern hospitality at Kelly's American Roadside Diner.
Add a bit of sunshine to your home with Easy Living Furniture's garden furniture sale. With stunning dining sets, cracking egg chairs and relaxing sun loungers that are in stock and ready for delivery. There really is something for everyone. And with discounts of up to 25% off sale prices, now really is the time to let your garden shine. Garden sale now on. Visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us what... The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €7.5 million.
Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie.
The National Lottery. It could be you.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news just after 10 o'clock. A Donegal deputy is questioning the Minister of Education if she is aware of what he has deemed a financial crisis at Sessionil National School Ballybuffet. The school enrolled around 150 pupils in September and then took in an additional 52 students in October who are Ukrainian refugees or from other asylum-seeking families. Despite repeated attempts to secure additional funding, the school has not received anything to date. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin says it's outrageous that a school who provided a safe environment for children is being punished financially.
I think it's outrageous, really, that a school that, has
created a safe place of education for the children of refugees and asylum seekers, and this warm space has been punished financially. They're now in a real financial crisis in the school through their care and their decency. It's outrageous that the department have not provided them with the financial assistance that they have requested. So I'm asking for the Minister now to urgently intervene and give the school the financial support, including back pay for all of the love and care that they've given to these young children.
The mental health of residents in the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District is said to have been affected due to repeated water outages. Cahirlock of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly, says frustrations are growing and residents are at their wits' end. One resident in the Bomney area has recorded 84 outages since September. Councillor Kelly says attempts to receive valuable response from Uisce Éireann are proving difficult. He says people can no longer continue to live the way they have been forced to.
Their compliances are breaking down. They're having to spend hard-earned money to fix washing machines, dishwashers. So it's actually getting to a stage where they're having to take their children to different areas where there's facilities to wash, whether that's their parents' house, their friend's house, whatever it may be. And I mean, we're in 2023. This is absolutely shocking, absolutely ridiculous.
Gardaí and emergency services are attending the scene of a single vehicle road traffic collision on the N13 approaching Stranorlar. It occurred at approximately 8:30 this morning. One person has been injured and is being treated at the scene. The road is currently closed. The Irish Hospital Consultants Association is warning the patient health in the Northwest is at risk due to excessive delays to care. Over 131,000 people are on a waiting list at hospitals within the Ceuta University Healthcare Group. This includes Letterkenny University Hospital. Michaela Clark has more.
Waiting lists for outpatient appointments, inpatient and day case treatment and procedures in the Northwest and West have increased by 3% since the start of the year. Latest figures show that 2,850 appointments and operations were cancelled at hospitals in the Ceuta Group between December 2022 and January this year. With no additional acute hospital beds planned this year, the IHCA has warned that the growing shortage of essential acute hospital beds and consultants across the region is resulting in waiting lists for treatment that is impacting on patient outcomes. IHCA President Professor Robert Landers says there is a serious concern that unmanageable waiting lists are impacting some of the most vulnerable patients. He says government needs to agree, fund and timetable plans to expand hospital capacity and consultant staffing.
Pharmacists are calling on the government to allow them to prescribe medications to patients without seeing a GP. Yesterday, the British Prime Minister announced patients in England will be able to get a prescription medicine and oral contraception without seeing a doctor first. Pharmacies there can dispense medication for common conditions like earaches, sore throats and urinary tract infections to try free up appointments in GP surgeries. Irish Pharmacists says it's time for Ireland to take the same approach. Supermarkets and grocery stores will be asked what they intend to do to lower food prices for the consumer today. Representatives of the major chains, smaller retailers and grocery industry are attending talks at the Department of Enterprise. Food inflation is still rising despite prices falling back in other areas. However, IFA President Tim Cullinan says farmers don't want the prices to fall.
I've been looking at CSO figures there over the last few days, and over the last 10 years, actually the price of food, fresh food, is falling by in the region of 5.4%. There's no sector in the community that has seen no increase over the last 10 or 20 year period. Farmers have been dealing with massive inflation in the cost of production over the last year in particular. The retailers go to jump on the bandwagon.
Looking to the weather, today there will be frequent showers or longer spells of rain with occasional sunny breaks. Some of the showers will be heavy and there is a slight chance of isolated thunderstorms. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees and a moderate to fresh westerly wind. That's all for now. We'll be back again with the latest news headlines at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices this Wednesday morning, May 10th. The death has taken place of Margaret O'Donnell, Curran, Terman. Remains reposing at her home from 6 p.m. today. Funeral Mass on Friday at 11 a.m. in St Columba's Church, Thurman. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time from 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of John Baxter, Drimnacari, Creasla. His remains will arrive at St Michael's Church, Creasla this evening at 6 p.m. to repose overnight. Funeral Mass there tomorrow morning at 11 a.m, followed by burial in Doe Graveyard. Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to the Lake House Comfort Fund, care of any family member or James Harkin Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Teresa McGaughey, late of Holmlea Park, Dungiven. Remains reposing at her former childhood residence, 56 Monador Road, Altonmuir Park, County Derry. Family time please from 11 p.m. Funeral tomorrow morning, leaving at 10:20 a.m. for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass in St Mary's, Altonmuir. Interment immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired in lieu to St Vincent de Paul Society, care of McLaughlin's Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Patrick Pat Breslin, St Mary's Road, Buncrana, reposing at his residence today from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m. to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Buncrana Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of James McGranahan, 19 Ferndale, Strabane. Remains are reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers please to Mary Curie, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time please from 11 p.m. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Patsy Patrick Conway, 40 Meandamph Road, Dunnamana, County Tyrone, reposing at his late residence. Family time please before the funeral this morning. Funeral this morning leaving his home at 10:15 a.m. for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Aughbrack. Interment immediately afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired in lieu to Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke, care of McLaughlin's Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Edward Ned Boyce, formerly of Pier Road, Downings. Funeral will take place in St Sebastian and St Pancras Church, Diocese of Westminster, London, in the coming weeks. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Currys have what's hot in tech this summer. Plus, we won't be beaten on price. Get the HP 15.6-inch laptop with Ryzen 5 processor, only $659. The Lenovo IdeaPad 3i with Intel Core i3 processor is only $479. I'll get the 10-inch Acer tablet with full HD screen for $159. Shop the hottest tech in-store or online now at currys.ie. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
Good morning to you. Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you've just tuned in. How are you keeping this Wednesday morning? Starting to fare up a little bit out there, I think. Right, we shall get on with some of your comments coming in so far on various subjects. A few on Eurovision. Hi, Greg. What's going on with that Eurovision competition? Cannot believe Ireland did not go through and Serbia, Croatia, Moldova, Czechia did. Oh my God, like serious? They were horrendous. I agree Ireland's performance did not seem polished, but the song and energy in that song was good. I just do not understand the Eurovision anymore. Indeed, neither do I. Ireland is flogging a dead horse regarding Eurovision. Time we binned it. It's a bit of fun though. I know what you're saying, but Eurovision, Greg, it's all about the haircut, and that's why, unfortunately, I didn't get through this year to represent Ireland. Okay, keep them coming in. Let's see if there's any more on that before we move on to other issues here. Just after using the toilets in Rathmullen, says this listener, shocked at the condition, a door missing, toilet roll dispenser hanging off the wall, no toilet roll in the men's section, soap dispenser pulled off the wall, walls of graffiti and what's looked like excrement marks on them, loo rolls stuck to the roof, 2 busloads of elderly tourists arrived to use them. Not good. Are they not new? Are those toilets not relatively new? This is one report. If you've been near them or you're close to them, let us know. Go down and have a look and report on them for us. The toilets in Rathmullen, missing door, toilet roll dispenser hanging off the wall, no toilet roll in the men's, soap dispenser off the wall, graffiti on the walls, could be poo on the walls as well, loo roll stuck to the roof, and we have 2 busloads of older tourists arriving to use them. If that's the case, and I don't doubt you for a second, I hope you understand when I say that, why I say it. That's shocking. Good morning, Greg. Will you ask that man, should we go back to the horse and cart like it was in his day because of car pollution? Why do the older generation always come on and try and dictate society to stay how they feel it should be? We can find research to prove any point these days. It means nothing. He needs to accept change. It's the same with the cannabis debate. People who don't drink or have never tried telling people what to do. Adults can make up their own minds. My body, my choice, only to abortions, it seems. Well, you can, but like individual actions of, say, for instance, excessive alcohol use, it's not really, I mean, you can climb Mount Errigal and bring a caseload of vodka with you and drink yourself into a standstill and never return. That's personal choice. I get what you're saying, but if there's 6% of admissions are to ED, if there's women and children and some men getting the living daylights beaten out of them because some people can't handle the drink, if young people whose brains aren't fully developed and whose bodies aren't fully developed are boozing, getting into cars or whatever it might be, you can't just say, just do whatever you want, because if we did that with everything, society would just completely unravel, would it not? I'm putting a question here to you. I'm not preaching or saying that you're wrong. So completely liberalising alcohol laws to a moderate drinker who just likes to socialise or can go out and have a few and get up for work the next day and doesn't get hangovers, and that's grand, but it's the consequences for society as a whole that one has to consider when striking a balance in laws, is it not? A caller says, I don't believe the Americans ever landed on the moon. There's overwhelming evidence that it was faked. For instance, how was the lunar module taken out and lowered from the craft? Why did they have Michael Collins circling the moon alone while the others were on the surface? If anything happened to him, all would have died. There was no time lapse between radio communication between Houston and the moon. Who operated the camera showing the lunar module taking off from the moon? How did they time the lunar takeoff to precisely link with the command module circling overhead? Some videos of lunar modules blasted off from the moon look more like sparklers you would see at a child's birthday party, and I'm not even going to mention the Van Halen belt. NASA explained that Armstrong steered around the belt and never realised that spaceships had a steering wheel. Well, I think they used thrusters, but I take your point. The whole episode was an elaborate hoax. It would not work nowadays. Obviously you've researched this more than I have, right? But all I would do is look at a picture, right? A picture of the vessel that was supposed to have landed. Oh, that did land. Listen, I'm not saying it didn't. And it just doesn't look like you could, it doesn't look like you could drop it 3 feet from the ground on the mountaintop and it could land. Do you know that sort of a way? Greg, could you give a shout out to Oncallion Coon, which we have on in Century Cinemas tonight at 8 p.m. Tickets can be bought from Linra Electric Cannon. in the lobby of the cinema from 7:30, so that's handy. You can still get them in the cinema or from the office this morning, or even on Eventbrite. They're only €5, so if you haven't seen On Callie and Cune, it's a brilliant film, I'm told, and you want an opportunity to see it on the big screen. It's not often you get to go to the cinema and watch a film, a properly highly rated film, for €5. So you can support Linra Letterkenny, what the work they do. Get the tickets there this morning at the cinema from 7:30 or on Eventbrite. Big controversy. It's a lot of discussion about the speed limits outside Maharabeg School. We had one listener on earlier in the week who said that they wanted to challenge, there's a speed van sitting there, and they wanted to challenge the fine they received because the temporary lights, it's the main road from Letterkenny to Bridgend, let's put it like that. There's a school on the side of the road for those of you from outside the area or west or south of the county that don't use that road, though I suppose many of you do. And the main road was built right beside the school. It's really dangerous. There's been so many near misses there and what have you. And some people feel that the speed van is positioned in such a way as it's easy pickings. That being said, we're talking about school children here, and we know how much we love our school children coming in and out of that school. And most people should know, I think, as you approach that it's a school and there's traffic there. I'm not a big fan of the speed vans and their location there, but that being said, I'm a big fan of children being alive and well. If the signage needs to be up, of course it does. But I think drivers should not have to be spoon-fed safety. I think you should know, if you're a competent, alert driver, that you're approaching a school there and should naturally want to slow down. So yes, I get it. I would hate if I got a fine. I have in the past. No angel, by the way, and I never sit here pretending to be that I am. Don't preach, because I'm not. I'd make all the same mistakes and do all the stuff other people do. But that school's really dangerous, and just the idea that one, and we've had it on the show 1,000 times, that one child could be seriously injured or killed over a debate whether or not a speed van is there or not. I don't know. I'm on the fence there. But listen, there may be some elements to that story that I don't know in terms of the lights coming off and on and the location of the speed van and what have you. If you've an insight into that or a view, and listen, I just expressed off the top of my head, I could be completely wrong. I'm very open to learning and having views changed and what have you. If you want to have that conversation as well, get in touch on the usual numbers. Give us a call on 07491 25000. This is your platform. Caroline and Niamh taking your calls. WhatsApps and text straight into the studio here on 086 60 25000. Here's the bingo numbers.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 10th of May. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S13. It's game number 19. The numbers are 72, 6, 85, 9, 68, 21, 59, 86, 43, and finally 66. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Ballybofey and Dunloe should attend the clinic in Jackson's Hotel in Ballybofey from Tuesday 9th to Thursday 11th of May. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit GiveBlood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
Are you looking for a safe and secure way to store your belongings? Look no further than Space Hub. We offer high-quality new insulated containers that you can rent or buy. Keep the container in our secure yard or have it delivered to your own property. Contact us today to learn more about our container rental and storage services. Call Martin at Space Hub now on 04871 878077 for more details.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Okay, we had a very important conversation yesterday about the provision of cancer services and the need for further investment in the West and Northwest, and the impact that is having on people's outcomes. And this is another important health story, perhaps not completely unrelated. Martin Varley is General Secretary of the Irish Hospital Consultants Association, and he's with us now on the programme. Martin, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning, Greg.
Now, your association has come out to warn that the growing shortage of essential acute hospital beds and consultants across the West and Northwest region is resulting in waiting lists for treatment, and this is having an impact on patient outcomes. So run through sort of some of the realities for us, Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. Our hospital consultants across the West and the Northwest are extremely concerned that we're now looking at unmanageable waiting lists in the West and the Northwest. And there's a real concern this has given rise to poor outcomes for patients. You already referenced the fact that the oncologists and surgeons in Galway highlighted a problem. They're extremely concerned. There is a promised cancer centre to be developed there, but time is of the essence because of the waiting list we're seeing. In reality, we have far too few hospital beds in the West and Northwest. And that's actually given rise to a situation that where acutely ill patients are admitted, where they absolutely need to be, is displacing other patients who may be booked in for cancer surgeries or other surgeries or procedures. And in fact, as we know, on a daily basis, we have a large number of patients nationally on trolleys, which is another indicator with too few beds. In fact, just looking at the figures for yesterday, there were about 140-something patients on trolleys across the hospitals in the Northwest. That's out of a total of about 650 nationally. So about a fifth of the patients on trolleys are unfortunately in the Northwest, which is high by any standards. Mm-hmm. Very few beds have been put in place in the Northwest, opened in the last 2-3 years, even though a significant number have been opened nationally. Only 69 additional beds have been opened in the past 3 years in the Celtic group. That's a very small percentage. 7% of the additional beds out of 970 opened, whereas the population in the Northwest is about a 6 or 16%. So you can see, despite the fact there's too few beds to start with, the percentage of additional beds being open is actually falling behind in the West. And this goes back to a comment by the oncologists and surgeons in Galway that they're concerned there's a two-tiered service in the country. And they were commenting on that in the context of cancer care and the fact that recovery from cancer results weren't as good as nationally. And of course, if you don't have the beds and if there are delays, this is what happens, unfortunately. So,
Martin, before we talk about we'll get into the analysis in a moment, if that's okay, Martin. When we talk about beds, we're talking about staff, really, aren't we? We're talking. I mean, we can buy 1 million beds and pile them in Donegal, but they can't be opened without staff. So we're going to talk about the shortage in consultants, but is it a shortage in the right nurses and the recruitment and employment of them that's really leading at this time to the beds shortage?
Well, it's a threefold thing, really. You need the capacity in the beds, and you need to start investing in that with a good lead time, so you're not stuck in a situation of what we're seeing now, a deteriorating situation. Secondly, of course, you need absolutely to plan the recruitment of the staff across all cadres of staff. And we have about a third of the consultant posts in the Northwest and in Letterkenny, which are not filled. Permanent posts are proved not filled. There are issues with regard to that. We're discussing with the government. We would hope to make inroads on that. And of course, our consultant numbers nationally are 40% below the EU average. Likewise, if you open additional beds, you need additional staff across the grades. We need a whole system approach that works and works.
But Martin, unfortunately, at the moment here locally, we are having consultants leaving, and they're leaving because they can't work. They can't get the time that they need in theatre, for an example, to work with patients. They're frustrated at the system. They're sitting twiddling their thumbs. So how do we attract consultants when we have consultants leaving for those very reasons. And look, you only have to open up Google and type in Letterkenny University Hospital consultants, and you will get a lot of stories that would discourage anyone from moving to this region. So without building, improving the foundations, how can we truly build on that?
I think it goes back to the old adage, which I repeatedly hear about hospital doctors and consultants. They want to work when they're at work. They want to treat patients on time. So it really does go back to the capacity in the hospitals. And that has been the biggest issue that's been neglected in the last 2 decades. In fact, we spent a period around 2000 being told by politicians we had too many hospital beds. And as an association, we actually pointed out that was flawed logic. Now, at least the politicians have come around to recognise we need more beds, but there's a tardiness in putting them in place. And this is surprising, given the scale of the problem. And my view would be, if we were to sort out the capacity issues and some of the issues around recruitment and retention, we would recruit and we would staff.
Okay. Well, I'm very interested in your breaking this down for me, because what we are told really effectively is that a big contributor, if not maybe the main factor, is getting people out of an acute hospital. So in other words, they are well enough not to be treated in that setting. So step down beds, home care packages, family that are available to look at. So how big of an actual factor is that? So if we got that right, say there was proper investment, and it's probably the easier problem to fix, if we got that right, how far would that go, do you think, to easing overcrowding in the acute hospitals?
Yeah, that's another important factor. We have 600 to 700 or 800 patients nationally who are clinically discharged by their consultants and doctors, and they're waiting for step-down facilities, maybe a nursing home or, as you described, home care packages. So much more needs to be done there as well. It's a component of the problem. It'll be part of the solution. It isn't a cure-all. We still need additional hospital beds and theatre facilities to allow people to be treated on time. We know that because we have 40% fewer beds than the EU average. I'm not comparing with the best. And therefore, we have to work on the basis of the facts that we have. And this is the danger, that sometimes politically they point to the solution be somewhere else and ignore dealing with an obvious big problem. And I've been listening to that for the last decade or two, and pointing elsewhere and ignoring a crucial part of the problem doesn't resolve the overall acute hospital system. So again, let's look at the 3 or 4 or 5 issues and let's work on all of them together. Let's work at them in an optimum sense. And when we have no trolleys, are approaching no trolleys and no waiting lists, we know we're there. And we're there for the moment.
Yeah, I think
the population expands further.
I think management and politicians in particular need to stop trying to distract the public with language. Firstly, the public is seeing through that now, and I don't think it benefits anybody at all, because all the evidence is there, and we've discussed all of these problems, and you're confirming it on this programme, so the public know. So there's no point politicians trying to sell the public a pup. Right, in terms of an analysis of the figures, in terms of how many people are waiting for treatments and treatments being postponed and what have you, and we talk about the impact this has on people's outcomes, but it doesn't factor in often the absolute stress that people go through. I've spoken to so many people, both in my personal life and on the programme. They've geared themselves up for something. They're ready to go. They've spent 3 weeks crapping themselves just to get to this point, and pardon my language there. And then on the day or the day before, it's postponed, and it throws them into a complete and utter horrible situation. And there's thousands of people go through that, Martin, and you'll give us some idea of the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers on waiting lists in the West and Northwest has gone up by 42% since 2015. So it's a shocking increase. They've gone up by 3% since the start of this year. So we're already in a difficult situation. I don't want to be throwing out too many numbers because they don't mean much, but the increase does mean a lot. 2,850 appointments and operations were cancelled at hospitals in the Celtic Group between December and January of this year. So that's a lot of people, just as you were describing, who were preparing for their operations, who would maybe book time off, who were making arrangements with family, and all the stress related to having an illness, and then the disappointment of the cancellation. It's very disappointing for the patients, the family. It's extremely disappointing for the surgeons and the doctors and staff in the hospital who are geared up for this and can't work effectively on a day because of the cancellation, all going back to an insufficient number of beds. Why? Because below the sufficient number of beds, acutely ill patients have to be admitted and treated, and that gives rise to the cancellations. So it's a vicious circle that's going on, and growing waiting lists as a result. So that's why we're shining a spotlight on this issue. And now the country, as we know, is in a strong position from an exchequer point of view. 10 billion of a surplus forecast for this year, 16 billion for next year. What we would be saying is fast track the plans. Let's put in place a system that gets this done quickly. And what we need is agree what's going to be funded. I think that's already agreed in a lot of cases. Put the funding in place, commit it, put a strict timetable in place, and do it. The indication from the minister and the government, and we must give them credit for this, they want to add 1,500 beds this year, next year. It might slip a little bit, but we still haven't seen the funding put in place for that. And they're saying we want to do it this year, next year. Well, without the funding in place, you can move forward. So we're saying commit that funding without delay. And at the latest by the budget in October, which of course can't be used till 2024, which means this year is lost partially. There's very few additional beds scheduled to be opened this year. There's none in the Northwest at all, to my knowledge. So you can see the gravity of the situation. Time is passing by. Waiting lists will only grow. You can try to reshuffle things a little bit to ease the pain, but you're not going to cure the problem unless you put the capacity in place.
During COVID, and I won't keep you very much longer, during COVID, we were awash with figures. How many people were dying? How many people were in hospital sick? How many people were in ICU? How many people were discharged? And we were given those figures for the most part, obviously, for public information, but also trying to convince the public of the serious nature of the situation. And yet here we are. There are hundreds, thousands of individuals and families out there that have had poor outcomes, that have lost loved ones, that have got sicker because of delay in treatment. But we can't quantify that. You've said there's no doubt that the problems are severely impacting health care outcomes for some of the most vulnerable patients. But what does that mean? I know you can't quantify it, but I think we all know what it means. It means heartbreak, tragedy, and upset for thousands of people. But because we're not given official figures, we can't really tell that personal story to strengthen the public support for what needs to be done here. Do you get where I'm trying to come from, Martin? It's just it's a sentence, but it doesn't have the impact it should have, because we're talking about lots and lots and lots of individuals, families, partners, so on.
True, absolutely. And I think the figures speak for themselves. You're right, we don't have exact data on serious casualties like deaths, but the emergency medicine consultants have pointed to the number of deaths that arise because of patients being treated on trolleys. I don't have the figures to hand. Only this week, the oncologists and surgeons in Galway said there's at least a 6% difference between the East and the West in terms of the 10-year survival rate for common cancers such as lung and breast cancer. So a 6% differential. And they point out that was a drug that should be available to the West and wasn't available. Everybody would be immediately ensuring it will be available. Here we have a problem because of a capacity deficit, it's delaying care, and there we have the oncologists and surgeons saying it's a 6% poorer outcome or poorer survival rate. There's no doubt there are problems.
All right. So in terms of the cancer services, what they need is they need they need action. We need that to move forward. Of course, for people in the Northwest, it's not ideal that it's in Galway, but we need a model for. There's a number of them around Dublin. We need proper coverage here in the West. And in one sentence, from the consultant's perspective, the government needs to agree, which some of it has been, fund and strict timetable plans to expand our hospital capacity and consultant staffing in the West and Northwest region. We, the people of this region, deserve that. We're equal to everybody else. And I think the staff working in the system deserve to be able to do the work they do in a adequate working environment. Martin, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's been very important to speak to you and very informative as well.
Thank you very much, Greg. Bye for now.
Okay, again, let me just point out that that is not anti-government rhetoric. It's whomever is making the bloody decisions. We need to get on it. I don't care who it is, what party it is, what individual it is, but we in the Northwest and West are disadvantaged. We are disadvantaged because of where we live. Plain and simple. The facts, the statistics, everything backs it up. We're going to be talking about the controversy as it relates to GEA Games coverage after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Get ready for spring-summer with the Villa Rose V-Spa. Our luxurious body scrubs will leave you feeling smooth and silky, and we offer waxing and sugaring hair removal options so you can be beach-ready in no time. Book now and take advantage of our amazing promotions: an introductory €20 gel nail offer or €50 luxury pedicure promotion throughout May. Look your best in your holiday with fresh skin and nails. Check out our full offerings at villarose.ie. The Villa Rose V-Spa, your destination for spring-summer beauty.
The spring sale is now on at Patterson's The Hall, Lifford. There's huge savings across all departments: garden furniture, beds, sofas, dining sets and giftware, with up to 50% off selected mattresses, plus up to 50% off ex-display kitchens. Hundreds of products in stock and ready for delivery or collection. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So get yourself down to Patterson's spring sale now.
Enjoy summer with Home Store and More. We have everything you need for garden living. Bring your garden to life with our great range of garden furniture. We've rattan corner sets, dinner sets and much more. Like our Florence Corner sofa set for €749. Dine in style with the Amelia 7-piece garden set, only €299. And cook up a storm with our 6-burner gas barbecue, only €399. Visit us in store or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Make your garden your sanctuary. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Want to work from home without the worry of dropped connections? What about enjoying a film without any freezing? Do your kids want to be online at the same time? National Broadband Ireland is delivering high-speed fibre broadband under the National Broadband Plan to homes, schools and businesses across rural Ireland. To find out when you can get connected, simply contact one of our broadband providers. We have almost 50. Or check your aircode at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Yeah, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar become the latest high-profile politician to wade into the GEA Go row and called for the most popular matches to be televised free. Varadkar told the Dáil that while he accepted all matches cannot be broadcast, RTE and the GEA should allow the important ones to be seen for free, with other matches available through the app. Now, this is a problem because sometimes the important match to someone in Tyrone might be the one that's on GEA Go and not the one that's on the telly, because we've had a lot of football on RTE recently and some cracking hurling games on the app, but that's kind of switched a little bit because now we're going to see some of the hurling on the telly, whilst some of the big games that I think all of us would like to see on the app. Pay-per-view. Can you imagine? Pay-per-view to watch football and hurling in this country. Fine Gael Deputy Alan Dillon joins us now. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Alan. How are you getting on?
Good morning, Greg. We're all good, thanks.
Right, okay. What's your take on all of this? I think the details emerging as it relates to, maybe the GEA not looking at Virgin Media perhaps as another outlet for its sport, and instead sort of it and RTE coming to the conclusion that they were best in a position to provide this new pay-as-you-go service. It's all a bit messy from my perspective, but I'm interested in yours.
Yes, and thanks for having me on, Greg. Well, firstly, what I feel is that we're certainly not getting value for money as TV licence payers. And this has stemmed from the alarming lack of transparency around RTE's 50% stake in the GEA Go platform. And we need to establish, did RTE simply agree to keep games behind a paywall to increase revenues for GEA Go and themselves? And, GEA Go, it is a private company. It behaves like one, it thinks like one, and it acts like one. And their job is to maximise profits. And we've seen in the most recent published figures that they, financial statements that they raised over €1 million in profit in 2021. And that is even before they have exclusive rights now to GAA games like the Munster Hurling Championship, which has caused huge distress amongst the hurling community. And now we're going to see equal challenges amongst the footballing communities who, in the next number of weeks will be sitting down in front of their tellies to see that these key championship games now will be behind a paywall. And that's despite RTE receiving increased state funding. They now have more sports rights than it can broadcast, and yet licensed payers are being asked to subsidise RTE further by paying for GAA sports content through GAA Go. And secondly, Greg, we also need to hear from the GAA and from the officials in Croke Park and understand, did the GAA explore other broadcasting options?
But we know they didn't, though. That's already. You see,
I don't think we've heard that to date. I think we've heard from Virgin Media in relation to their press release yesterday, and I think the GAA need to come forward and provide clarity in relation to the decision to place football and hurling behind a paywall. And we also need to understand, how much RTE paid for the GAA rights. And that needs to be clarified, because RTE aren't coming forward with information that they say is commercially sensitive. And the question that was put to the group head of sport was in relation to the viewer numbers. And I would ask in relation to why is this commercially sensitive if RTE, how is it commercially sensitive when RTE have the exclusive rights? If RTE were in competition.
And Alan, just for the listeners' perspective, in case they didn't hear that interview, he was asked during the interview ordinarily how many might watch the hurling, and he says 250,000. He was then asked, well, how many watched it behind the paywall? He said they were happy with the figures, it matched targets, but he had the figure, but he couldn't reveal it. And I think that was really quite telling. Let me put it to you as well. That you can go to jail if you don't pay your TV licence, right? We pay that, so we're obliged to pay that to RTE. We also gave €25 million in taxation to the GAA, not to mention everything else that we support them through paying for games that you can't even pay in cash for. And the GAA would not have that conversation, so you've no hope of having a conversation about their rights issues, I would suggest. And also, we're paying hand over fist, left, right and centre already. Why are any games behind a paywall here? Why can't they support these games through revenue? Why can RTE not put a second game on the news channel? They've got other outlets that are over the air. You know what I mean? There's loads of options. The only thing that seems to be on their minds at the moment is driving traffic to the app by picking certain games and also making money, but then not telling us, even though we pay their wages effectively, telling us how much money they're making and how many viewers are watching.
Yeah, and I think that certainly is a key point, Greg. It certainly seems counterintuitive for RTE as the public state body to disregard a significant proportion of viewers who are licensed payees in favour of focusing on an app-based internet streaming platform for these types of games. And I'm sure you understand, it being in Donegal and in the Northwest, that there is digital equality across the country. And without adequate broadband and streaming services, many viewers or supporters of our national games, they certainly will be alienated. And the GAA, is an organisation that leaves no one behind. But in this instance, they're putting the interests of media rights and profits above what the ethos and the volunteering community organisations it is and what it stands for and what it will stand for. So, given that RTE is receiving increased revenue from this arrangement, we have the group head of RTE Sport on the board of GAA Go. So is the Director General of RTE. So there's no question that there is a conflict of interest in this matter. And, in relation to that, we're being asked again, the public, to, receive or to be, on the receiving end of further subsidies to support RTE in the provision of GAA sports content on a platform that should be available on free-to-air in every living room across the country.
I mean, it's horrendous to think, is it not, that on the 20th of May, Kerry Mayo, obviously there's going to be huge interest, not least your own in both counties, but that is a game that everyone would want to watch. Same Galway Tyrone, that's going to be a fascinating game, and you could switch straight back into sports mode and talk about those games and have us salivating at the thought of those two games. The fact that you would have to pay to view those games and then watch it, and it's worse for hurling, watch it on a tablet or a phone if you don't have the ability to cast it up to the large screen, which is a terrible way of doing it because you're actually drawing on your internet twice, which, technically is actually problematic anyway. It's just crazy that that's where we're at in 2023.
I agree, and I think that the longer this discussion is had, the more aware people are in terms of the clear sign of what direction the GAA wants to head in. And certainly, as a public broadcaster, RTE have a duty to ensure that they're subjective in their nature to provide free-to-air games, and that they need to be scrutinised. And RTE know and they understand the audiences are attracted to the most competitive clashes. You take Kerry and Mayo, Galway and Tyrone, the last 4 All-Ireland football contestants who will go to battle on May 20th. And by placing that behind a paywall, you're disenfranchised. A huge proportion of not only those who want to watch it from their own counties, but the neutrals across the country.
Yeah.
And where do we go from here if we don't stand up now and challenge both RTE and the GAA in relation to this? This is a 5-year deal.
Alan, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will, and I hope you do, and I hope other politicians do, is advocate particularly on our older generation, who we wouldn't not be here without. They're already, if they want to go and see a game live, they can't pay for cash at the turnstile. We've spoken to many people on this programme that have to rely on a nephew, a niece or a daughter or a son to buy a ticket for them, and they should not be placed in that position. And secondly, having to get other people in some cases, and not all older people, but particularly to try and set this up for them. After all they've contributed, not just to life, but often to the GAA, to sort of cast them to one side as if just the world's moved forward, like it or lump it. I really hope the likes of you, Alan, and I'm sure you will, and other deputies and public representatives particularly advocate on behalf of our older generation, and particularly in a cost of living crisis where they might actually have to choose food over broadband or heat over broadband. It should not be the case. We can't get the hospitals fixed with the flick of a switch. We can't get housing, but the one little bit of a respite from the stresses of life, we can fix this. And I really just hope, if the GAA and the RTE don't see sense, that the likes of yourself, with your fantastic background in sport and involved in politics, now really strongly advocate, particularly for the older generation who are being just cast aside in this whole debate and conversation.
Yes, Greg, and that's what we intend to do, and certainly, this is a really concerning situation, and I think this has been in the news headlines for the past number of days, and it has no sign of easing until we actually get some resolution to the challenges that are being faced. And a swift solution is just for RTE to move some of their free-to-air games onto Saturdays, with live action, I think, over the 17 championship weekends.
But put Kerry Mayo and Galway Tyrone on the news channel. Most people have access to that. Just stick those. They're staggered starts. It's a 3 o'clock throw in for Kerry Mayo, 5:15 throw in for Galway Tyrone. If a hurling game has to take priority on that day or whatever it might be, put them on RTE News Now or put them on TG Cahir.
Absolutely, and I remember, back when I was playing, that there was no issue around the availability of free-to-air broadcasting. You know, in Croke Park on August Bank Holiday weekend, there was games broadcast on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and there was availability across all stations, be it RTE2 and RTE News. So, you know, this seems less about fair selection and more about a bid to increase their subscribers. And that's something that, you know, the public won't tolerate. And we need to ensure that we can alleviate the financial burden on the public, as you said previously, and the importance of both maintaining, you know, equitable access to our national sports.
All right, Alan, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. That's Deputy Alan Dillon. He's a former Mayo GEA All-Star as well, as I'm sure most of you listening with an interest in that would be well aware. A Mayo legend on the pitch. Sinead, what do you think?
I'd love to really say what I think, but I'm on live radio. I better not.
Take the stabilisers off. Go for it, Sinead.
I think just we need to take a good, hard look at ourselves as an association. We have sold our soul to the devil, and enough is enough. I mean, I look even at my own parents. That's suppose the first thing I'm going to say. My mum was on Monaghan County Board for 20 years. My dad is a former manager of our club, committee member for decades, former chairman. He has done everything he can for his club, his county. He's gone to every game too that he could. He's now a dialysis patient. He's 76 years of age. He doesn't have the option to go to inter-county games. Unfortunately, my parents don't have broadband, and they can't watch games. I mean, I just feel we're giving the two fingers to the people that carried our association for so long. They've raised 6 kids, every one of whom love, well, what the GAA is supposed to be, I hasten to add, not what it is. And we don't seem to care anymore. It's about the bottom line. It's about profit. And again, it comes to the same thing with only taking tickets that have been bought online. You know, where's the personal interest in this? Where's the personal touch? There is none. You know, it's shameful.
Like, where does the association want to go? Like, you know, like there was a time in this country where we respected older people, where they were held up. Now it's like, well, you know what? We cast them to one side because we're going forward, and it doesn't matter who falls by the wayside on their way. You know, your mum and dad don't want to have to ring you up and say, Sinead, can you come over and see if you can sort this out or other? They just want to switch the telly on and watch a game, especially given what they've contributed. But that contribution, it's like they never did anything. It's like they contributed nothing. They don't matter because
they don't matter anymore. They've got us to where we are. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, your bit's done. But we have done, or this association has done 2 monstrous disservices to the elderly people in this country in the last 18 months to 2 years. Firstly, they've introduced, you know, the cashless mechanism at the gates. They won't accept cash from people who don't want to use bank cards, who are wary of it, and I'm constantly bleating on about this. Now we expect them to be tech savvy, to have access to know how to download the game and to stream it. I mean, for God's sake, like, you know, I'm young, I can do all that, but an awful lot of older people can't. You know, my husband isn't old, but he wouldn't be tech savvy enough to know really how to do all of that stuff. You know, give him a piece of wood and he's a genius with it, but technology just isn't his thing. But I mean, we just can't treat our members like this. We're alienating a massive amount of our membership by doing what we're doing.
All right, Sinead,
and we need answers.
Great points, well made. Thank you very much indeed for that. Sean?
Yes, Greg.
Go ahead, Sean. What's your view?
Well, my view is that a lot of the problems that exist at the moment as regards coverage of inter-county matches, both hurling and football, is that there's far too many fixtures crushed into a very small time limit. And it's nearly impossible even to watch them, even you were getting them.
That's true.
And I would have to agree in general with the previous speaker there, Greg, to you, that Sinead, that she's hit the nail on the head by highlighting the things that Croke Park have done. I think Croke Park are on a, I don't know what I would call it, but money seems to be their only problem. And while I welcome that because of the contribution they can give them back into clubs, and I know, look at the 2 clubs here, Letterkenny, both my own club, St. Unions, and Letterkenny Gales, how they've benefited by that and by the government grants. But, there's a limit. An idea of trying to put so many matches together when you have maybe 6 or 8 big inter-county football matches at the one time.
And we're
It's
starved of
ridiculous.
sport most of the year, Sean.
Exactly, that's what I also was going to say. I sit back here at home for so many weekends in the year, and no sport to watch on RT. RT is not a good station for sports coverage in general, but we would like to see at least matches every weekend, or not every weekend, but regularly. Another thing about the internet there, Sinead has mentioned, it's absolutely crazy and ridiculous, and an insult to people. I suppose I don't want to say, but like myself, who has given years and years and years of dedicated service to both club and county and the GA in general, to have to try to get into a match by paper only. Also, the fact that there's a lot of areas in the county, in the country, that has no Wi-Fi coverage.
Yeah.
Therefore, they have no choice either to go and to somewhere they can get it, or get somebody to get it for them. And then there's, of course, people. I'm lucky enough, to be honest, that I can just about manage, and I would consider myself that great at computers or internet or digital work, but I can manage to get that. But there's so many people that just can't.
All right, Sean.
And I blame this is the pressure from the Gaelic Players Organisation, who want their cake and eat it, and also to Crow Park, who, a lot of them, officials up there, have never kicked a Gaelic football in their life.
All right.
And they're in there legislating for the rest of how things should be done.
All right.
It's about time they got up with their backside and come back to earth again.
Okay, Sean, listen, thanks for all your service that you've done, by the way, and thank you very much for taking the call. I really do appreciate it, Sean. Sorry, just to have to head to the news now.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
There's fantastic value at Homeland Letterkenny Garden Centre this Saturday 13th with our Garden Super Saturday. There's mixed summer bedding, buy 3 for €10. Buy 2 get 1 free in all shrubs. EFCO 18-inch drive mower only €469. And garden expert Gareth Austin will host a Grow Your Own talk from 11 a.m. Shop in store at Homeland Letterkenny with expert advice from our experienced team. Offers mentioned available this weekend only.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
Join All Folk Dub live at the Phoenix Tavern Bundoran this Saturday 13th of May. That's All Folk Dub at the Phoenix Tavern Bundoran this Saturday 13th of May. Tickets available from Eventbrite.
Shop LK at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. New, fresh colours in women's sportswear from Nike and Under Armour. Get that new look with some bright colours. Quarter zips with t-shirts and fitness bottoms. Match it up with some new arrivals in our footwear for women. Brooks, Hoka, and On Running gives you a unique comfort sensation. View our new arrivals. Click on bmcsports.ie for your free delivery.
Avril, stop playing with the Bunsen burner. Harry, does he look like he wants a face tattoo? Teaching kids what's right and wrong is important. That's why Bank of Ireland are teaching over 418,000 students in primary and secondary schools the financial literacy skills that will help them get it right in later life. Because your financial well-being is our priority. Register your school today. Search Bank of Ireland Schools. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
All right, still another hour to come this Wednesday morning, but at 11:11, let's get a news update. And it's good morning once again to Donna Marie.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin is questioning the Minister of Education if she is aware of what he has deemed a financial crisis at Sessionil National School in Ballybofey. The school enrolled around 150 pupils in September and then took in an additional 52 students in October who are Ukrainian refugees or from asylum seeker families. Despite repeated attempts to secure additional funding, the school has not received anything to date. The mental health of residents in the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District is said to be affected due to repeated water outages. Cahirlock of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly says frustrations are growing and residents are at their wits' end. One resident in the Bomney area has recorded 84 outages since September. Ambulance workers could stage a work to rule, a strike or an overtime ban after SIP2 members voted in favour of industrial action. 95% of workers balloted voted in favour of actions as members say long-promised reforms on paramedic pay grades have yet to be implemented. The union will be serving 21 days notice of the action, the form of which yet has to be decided, to the National Ambulance Service next week. Gardaí and emergency services are attending the scene of a single vehicle road traffic collision on the M13 approaching Stranorder. It occurred at approximately 8:30 this morning. One person has been injured and is being treated on site. The road is currently closed. The Irish Hospital Consultants Association is warning that patient health in the Northwest is at risk due to excessive delays to care. Over 131,000 people are on a waiting list at hospitals within the Ceuta University Healthcare Group, which includes Letterkenny University Hospital. And finally, a 39-year-old man has been arrested by detectives investigating offences surrounding an unnotified parade in Cregan in Derry last month. The man has been arrested under the Terrorism Act and has been taken to the Serious Crimes Suite of Musgrave Police Station. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back again with more updates at 12 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Donna Marie, thank you very much indeed. OK, stay right where you are. We have more of your comments coming in on various topics, of course, and plenty more between now and 12. We'll be back after this break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Enjoy summer with Home Store and more. We have everything you need for garden living. Bring your garden to life with our great range of garden furniture. We've rattan corner sets, dinner sets and much more. Like our Florence Corner sofa set for €749. Dine in style with the Amelia 7-piece garden set, only €299. And cook up a storm with our 6-burner gas barbecue, only €399. Visit us in store or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Make your garden your sanctuary. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Add a bit of sunshine to your home with Easy Living Furniture's garden furniture sale. With stunning dining sets, cracking egg chairs and relaxing sun loungers that are in stock and ready for delivery. There really is something for everyone. And with discounts of up to 25% off sale prices, now really is the time to let your garden shine. Garden sale now on. Visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See McGee's.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
My perfect escape would be
a city break, somewhere with loads to do.
Nothing. Just relax and go.
Out. Dinner and drinks in the hotel before heading
to bed. Nice and early for an amazing night's sleep.
At Maldron Hotels, we provide you with everything you need to escape your way across Ireland and the UK. Save on every room, every night when you book direct with Click on Maldron at maldronhotels.com.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. And on a Wednesday, just after 11 o'clock, we have a little item called Work. We don't do work here. We call it Wellness Wednesday. And what we are actually going to discuss now is the issue of workplace conflict and workplace bullying and any other issues in the workplace. So if you have any questions, get them into us quick, by the way. 086 60 25,000. We'll see if we can help the situation. 07491 25,000 is the number to call. Right. Sharon Morrissey is founder of Conflict Clarity and joins us now. Sharon, good morning.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am good. Great to have you on the programme. We spend so much time at work, don't we? If we're lucky enough to have a job, it's tough enough as it is, but we don't want it to be any tougher than it needs to be in terms of, how we're treated, how we treat others.
Absolutely. I suppose like the majority, whether we're working from home or it's a hybrid situation or we're in the office, we spend the majority of our time in work. So absolutely, we want it to be as, I suppose, plain sailing as possible. But, the statistics that are out there at the moment and always have been really, only I think we're becoming more aware of them now, is that even though with all of this time that we spend in the office, managers on average spend 4 hours a week trying to navigate conflictual situations in the workplace, which is a significant amount of time, really, when you think about it. But then if you go to the other side of it, what does bullying and, harassment and all of those things look like for individual peoples and the impact that it has on the workplace, on their mental health and on the relationships in the home afterwards.
Okay, we might talk a little bit more about that, but just getting back to the workplace, I think sometimes what is the situation? Like, are managers for those 4 hours playing whack-a-mole effectively? Do you think businesses, managers, CEOs pay enough attention to what's going on in the workplace? Rather than dealing with situations, do you think they're proactive enough generally? I mean, how can you generalise? But you would know, I presume, from your engagements.
Well, I suppose, it kind of starts from the ground up. And a lot of times when people are getting into management positions, there's very little done in the way of training in conflict management, at that piece to begin with. But even when there is that training done, there's a lot to be thought about. Do you know your own conflict management style? Do you know what's going to trigger you? Do you know if somebody says something to you, how you're going to react, and if that's going to exacerbate the conflict or if it's going to, calm it down? So there needs to be a lot more training, I think, put into kind of the management levels and the HR levels in terms of how to kind of, manage conflict. And I keep saying that, but that's in effect what Conflict Clarity is trying to do and every situation is different, as you said. So it's really difficult to generalize in this. So I suppose in the 4 hours, that could be like 10 minutes trying to calm down somebody that's throwing the toys out of a pram because of a certain situation, or it could be things like having those big, massive meetings that nobody really no manager really wants to have. So, it depends. And plus everybody's perception of conflict is different then as well, so it can be things like, somebody didn't say hello to me in the hall and they never say hello to me in the hall and therefore they don't like me, to, somebody actually, doing something more serious or more sinister than that.
Yeah. And managers don't want to be sort of just saying, right, break it up. And everything's right for a couple of days. You really need to you really want to be getting to the nub of the point, don't you? Because you want to avoid that happening into the future. So we'll talk about the impact it has on workers in a moment, but you were touching on the impact it has on businesses, just in terms of productivity, absenteeism. I mean, it would be hard to calculate, but I imagine it's incredibly significant.
Actually, there are some statistics out there at the moment, and I just wrote them down because I'm terrible for remembering numbers, but that there was something like 11 million days missed last year or within the last year for people being off on absences. So, and around 74% of those days were counted as sick leave due to stress in the workplace absences. So that is a huge number, when you think about it, and it costs up on 15 billion a year, for businesses to try and make that money back. That's phenomenal. So, but sometimes what I can't understand is when we have all of this information, but yet it looks like that there's very little being done about how to make this work. So, we have the information. We know that there are special ways of, that there are other ways of doing it. Yet some businesses, some companies, some employers prefer, maybe prefer isn't the word, but will allow a case go to the WRC instead of bringing it in at the very beginning, like you said, and starting to unpick what the culture, what everything is in the company, because it is a cultural piece, and it generally comes, like from the top down, from the bottom up, whatever way you want to look at it. Like, there's no apportioning blame here, but it is a culture in the company that needs to be looked at. And that is where I would come in to look at cultures and climates.
Okay, so what would your role be then, sort of compared to a HR company? Maybe HR companies generally start dealing with things when they get to the point whereby, someone is threatening to leave, someone is making accusations. Your work as in terms of workplace conflict, preventative, or maybe to spot the signs early on, or is there an overlap between what you would provide and a human resources, either external or internal?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things, I suppose. So I'm a mediator, number one. So that usually, when conflict gets bad in a business, an external mediator would normally be brought in to see as the first step before you would go any higher, in terms of that conflict resolution process. But I always maintain that if you can get in there before that, it would stop it even getting to the point where the mediation would have to take place. Now, that's a really good question. And what is the difference between me and a HR person? Well, the HR people, of course, are after, bringing all of their, bringing people on board, doing the interview processes, all of that. And they have all of the policies and procedures that they're in place and that they have to follow. But mediation is, by very definition, supposed to be neutral and impartial. Okay, so if a person is being paid, i.e. the HR manager or person in the company is being paid by the same company that I'm getting my wages from, how that can be...
There's an instant distrust of that, because it sounds like you're batting for and who hired you and who's going to continue to hire you if I get sacked.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's, if I'm the HR person, because I always feel that the HR people really are the squeezed people in the middle, that, they're having to take the instructions from the managers and they're having to take all of the issues that are coming up, but there isn't really anybody there to support the HR people. So, sometimes it's things like tips and tricks and, even the use of language and how to, de-escalate a situation as opposed to inflame it further.
And can I sort of say, if what you're talking about, that is say, for instance, someone had a stressful situation in work and they're saying, this is making me really anxious, and they go into a manager and the manager says, listen, pull yourself together. It would compound it because they're not taking their concern or what they would see as an illness at this point seriously. Is that what you talk about language? It is, you're nodding. Now, we've talked about the companies side of things, but you would know firsthand, and anyone who's been through this would know firsthand, this can have, and it's tough enough going to work, but it's really, really tough on the people involved, especially if they feel like they're on the receiving end of, just bullying or bad feeling or being ghosted in the workplace or whatever it might be. How does it affect people?
It has a detrimental effect on mental health. And I suppose it depends on the length of time, that it's going on. It depends on the severity of it. It depends on whether the other people in the organisation, the company, are complicit in what's happening or not. I would have lots of situations, and, I've had personal situations in the past where somebody will come and say something really disrespectful or, whatever, humiliating to a staff member. And then nobody else reacts. Everybody keeps the head down, kind of almost thanking the stars that it's not them that are getting, that abuse. But to the point, where, it can be so severe at times, that it is causing significant mental health issues with the worker. The worker is taking those significant mental health issues home. So it's causing problems in the relationships at home. And, there are episodes where people are, actively suicidal as a result of bullying issues that are happening in the workplace. So it's vital. It is vital that, it's identified, because sometimes when the bullying is happening, and I say bullying, but when this behavior is happening, it is so kind of, like you can't see it, but you start to believe, all of these things that are being said. It's afterwards, when you're taken out of that situation, you kind of go, okay, that's actually what happened.
And I think you can emotionally regress too, because it has a very school feel to it.
And it's protective. You're trying to protect yourself, so you're kind of going, start to grow up, that sort of thing, you'll be fine, you're well able to manage this, you were hired for the job. But yet you have somebody saying, this is not right, you didn't do this right, all of those things, you're not good enough.
The thing too, and sorry to move it along, Sharon, because how you deal with this, it's a complex issue, and there's complex solutions, and we'll let people know about a webinar that's coming up shortly and how they can contact you. But if your manager doesn't have a buy-in or doesn't get what you're cooking, right, it can be even extra frustrating for staff, and people don't know what to do. So an example of that would be this text. I approached a problem or raised a problem with my manager with regards a timeline on a project and it not being realistic, only to receive negative feedback and a condescending tone. How do I approach this again with them? It's causing me a great deal of anxiety and stress. So they've worked up the courage, they've went back, and they've been knocked back. And in fact, they've left that meeting with that manager feeling considerably worse than when they went in.
Yeah. So now they're not only feeling stressed because of the job, but they're feeling like that they are not good enough either. So I suppose, look, it's... I don't know the kind of hierarchical situation.
Yeah, I get you. Is there someone else above the manager?
Exactly, But other than that, like if this is a project and it's real, the time frame is non-realistic, there's probably somebody else, or there's possibly somebody else working on the project as well. Well, then, it's a little bit like safety in numbers. You take the other person with you, go, to the manager and saying, look, we're going to have to sit down with this. We're going to have to look at this. And, you as my manager are going to have to hear what needs to be said. And I take on board that takes a huge amount of courage and a huge amount of people needing to be really, really strong in themselves, particularly at a point where they're not feeling very strong. I understand that. And that is where knowing how you yourself manage conflict is very, very important. That yes, I feel very vulnerable when I'm in conflictual situations, and all this would probably go back to how we manage conflict in our family of origins, really. But, I have something to say. And if it's a thing of actually sitting down and writing it out in points and taking it in with your, and not being deviated from your script, this is what's really, really important to get across to your manager. Also sending an email, because at that point, I suppose if you're feeling that vulnerable in the position, putting it on email is also showing that, look, I'm trying to get...
Puts it on the record, doesn't it? Yeah.
But it's more than... Well, it's that. But it's also, look, I have taken the time to write these points out. I am being clear in what I'm saying. I need you to read, see, hear what I'm saying.
A lot of people listening might be in small companies, 4 or 5 people. The owner might actually also work in the company. I presume... and this is, you're in the business of resolving a situation, but there comes a point really whereby the boss can do what the boss wants to do. And if you are unhappy, if you are stressed, that you have to make tough decisions sometimes, that maybe that environment is not for
Isn't for you. Yeah,
and we're reluctant to do that as well. That can be a tough decision, but sometimes it has to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are reluctant to do that because of all of the external pressures, like mortgages, the kids having to go to school, the car payments needing to be made, all of those things. Absolutely, we are. And I totally understand that as well. And, have been in those positions myself. But at the end of the day, the way I see things now, and again, this is through learning, academic and real life learning, is that, who am I most important to? And I know you see these signs everywhere, like a job will replace you, by the time your funeral is over, kind of thing. But that is the case, and I am certainly more important to my family than I am being in a job.
But some
unwell.
managers exploit that emotion and actually use it to suppress their staff. I'm a manager and I'm leading a team at work on a big project, but there are too many voices and it often leads to conflict. And I'm unsure how to handle this as the work is simply not getting done. That's the flip side.
Okay, absolutely. And, again to it, that's about this manager needing to be exceptionally clear in their role. So they are and there's a big debate about what is a manager, what is a leader. Okay, so the manager is trying to get the job done, but you need to be able to lead your team into doing exactly what it is you need them to do. So if there's too many voices, I mean, as a manager, you're kind of asking the question, okay, what is the issue? I've heard the issue. This is the response to the issue. Now I need the work to be done, and being, again, secure enough in the role to take the feedback, to think about the feedback and take it on, and to give those reasons back to the people who are making these comments. This is the reason we're not taking this on board. This job has to get done. And it is, again, about how we use language to get that point across.
Okay. Sharon Morrissey is of Conflict Clarity, Enhancing Workplace Wellbeing. Supporting management and staff in resolving conflict is a webinar that's taking place this Friday from 1:15, and it's free. And
Absolutely,
we'll link it here.
And it's for your listeners, and Chambers of Commerce and Kilkenny and Donegal Business Networks and anybody. It's for anybody who and it's just learning at lunchtime. It's just a couple of tips and tricks, on how it might help, or if people want to ask specific questions.
But I'd say you get a lot of nodding, don't you, when you're speaking to people, because you reckon, we are quite simple, as complex as we are, and a lot of the problems are really quite familiar, aren't they? So I would say when you start giving examples or outlining scenarios, you get a lot of nodding heads in the audience.
Yeah, and I suppose it is that there is a level of us that we know what to do and we know what the answers are, but it's about, again, the security in our roles, the security in the language that we use, the security of knowing the law, what we can say and what we cannot say, all of those things, and just because you were a boss maybe 2 years ago, the whole thing looks completely different now. So post-COVID, we have something, again, like 68% of people who are working from home, so hybrid. The conflict is caused because they feel that they are not being included in decisions that are being made in the office. So, whether that is true or whether it's a perception, there is conflict there. So all of this needs to be discussed openly. And, it sounds so simple, but it is about having these open, honest conversations. And as a manager or a leader, if you're able to say to your staff, listen, I know this is really hard, and I know we're tight on deadlines and timeframes, but I will be here with you, and I will be I'll be putting my shoulder to the wheel to get this passed. But we're going to do this collaboratively and together. And I'm not talking about holding hands or anything, but leading by example, that we're going to get this done, and that you acknowledge the difficulties. That really helps. Whereas if you have one person who's leaving the office like at 4:00 in the evening because they're the manager and they're going home and everybody's been left there till 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night, that's not going to help situations at all. So it is a collaborative piece. And I think a lot of times we need to understand that, I'm the owner of my business, but for the people who are working with me, I can't do the job that I do without them.
Yeah, indeed. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much indeed, Sharon. I really appreciate it. Sharon Morrissey there, founder of Conflict Clarity. That webinar is on Friday. We'll link it on our website. It's free if you wish to access that.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Do you have long-term goals that just seem like they would be impossible right now? These could include such things as a deposit on a house, buying a car outright, funding for your children's education, or simply the holiday of a lifetime, John F. Lowery Financial Services can help. If you squirrel away a small amount consistently over an extended period, there is huge scope for growth over the long term. To arrange a free consultation, visit jfl.ie or call 9124002 and speak with one of our qualified financial advisors. John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Investments can go down as well as up. Past performance is not a reliable guide to future performance.
Dust off your cowboy boots and hats for the Country Hoedown in Ramelton Community Centre. This Saturday, 13th of May, in aid of the Linen Festival. There's music with Paul McCahill from 9 till midnight. Prizes for the best dressed cowboy and cowgirl, and everyone is welcome. Admission is €10. That's this Saturday in Ramelton Community Centre.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Go full Lidl for a summer of savings just like our customers.
We've a lot more in the fridge by the end of the week. Like, we're never running empty anymore. So it's fantastic to be able to budget and know this is what we're going to spend. And the kids can always throw in an extra few bits here and there. Like, our youngest girl throws and hides everything in the trolley.
Go on. Go full Lidl today.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time, 27 minutes past 11. Now, as you would know, we had a couple of calls in from people who were looking for a bulb, the orange bulb on the zebra crossing in Manor, fixed. They said, hard to believe 1 year later the light remains fixed. Remains unfixed, sorry. So we committed to try and do something about this. We got onto the council. The council worked really well with us, by the way, in terms of where they possibly can help out. Well, not help out, but when things are made... when they're made aware of things, getting them sorted. So Letterkenny Road section have been advised that this is the first report they received regarding this zebra crossing, which is fine. And they're going to follow up now and arrange for repairs to be carried out as soon as possible. So 1 year on, hopefully now that... And, you know, it seems like a little thing, but for the people in that area, it's important, and we're here for you on those types of issues. So our colleagues at the County Council have said they acknowledge now the issue. They weren't aware of it previously, and it doesn't matter if they get it fixed, do they? And they're going to look at that now. So that's good news, isn't it? I hear the lady on your show, but the bully is very crafty and usually is ahead of the posse. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying there. Hi, Greg. One example of bullying someone. My daughter went to a hen night with a good friend, or for a good friend. The bridesmaid had a group chat then looking for money off them all and worked out around €500 flights, hotel, etc. The bridesmaid was sending cheeky messages in private. Now they have a hen night at home and the bridesmaid turned the bride to be against my daughter and she's not asked to this one. Well, that's horrendous. But you know what? Your daughter's better off without them. Because if those are friends, get new friends, because they're not the type of people that you'd want around. And you know what? Maybe it's good to find out, because who's to say what they were talking about previously anyway. RTE does not show any programmes until 7 p.m, RTE2. This channel could be used on a Sunday to show Gaelic games. The people should vote with their feet and boycott the games. The GEA don't like losing money. Only for the BBC, says listener. We in Donegal would get very little TV coverage of Ulster counties playing, indeed. Another, RTE are not able to show their national games, Greg, but they're able to show hour after hour of the coronation last Saturday. A total disgrace. Both RTE and the GEA should be boycotted. A few months would do it. Yeah, if people organise, but they don't, do they? Jimmy was due to come on before 11, and thanks, Jimmy, for accepting the invite on, but unfortunately we ran out of time. But he made a very good point. There's an agreement for the rugby, so why can't it be the same for GEA? I presume you mean the agreement between RTE and Virgin Media. Good point as well. Hi, good on you, Greg, for giving that good coverage. That woman is so right. My parents are in the same situation with watching GEA games. Please keep it going. I'm at work. I'd love to come on the show otherwise, but always listen to it. And it's a great show. Thanks again. Thanks for your lovely comments. I really appreciate it. Another, the GEA Go RTE debate is overshadowing the cost of living crisis, housing crisis, in my opinion. The government must be enjoying this deflection. Well, it's not. We talk about the cost of living crisis all the time. And the thing is what's very important to one person might be somewhat different to another. And even this is connected to the cost of living crisis because people aren't able to watch certain games because maybe they can't afford to, right? So to be introducing a pay-as-you-go system or a pay-per-view system right now during a cost of living crisis, I think actually makes it, because we can't talk about serious tough stuff all the time. We can't be worrying about our mortgages or our car payments or whatever. Sometimes it's actually sitting down with a cup of tea or whatever it might be and putting your feet up and sitting with your family and talking about a game of football, because you know what? We can't talk about serious stuff all the time in our private lives. I generally switch off from a lot of the serious stuff now and sit and watch a game of football, a perfect way to do that. But if then I'm forced to take a card out and pay for it, you know, and maybe the money's not on that card in some people's situation, it is all part of the same conversation. We'll get back to the other issues as well. Why don't players stand up for the supporters? It's a lot to ask, you know, it's in our gift, I think, but I take your point. Hi, I'm fuming about the GEA and older people having to pay to watch games. My elderly father had followed GEA all his life. His life revolved around going to and watching football. Now he is housebound. How's he supposed to set up GEA Go to watch the games? And most of the time the screen freezes. People need to stop paying their TV licence. Another, well, it's true what they say about the GEA. It's a grab-all association, right? And more coming in all the while. Back very shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
This May, Century Cinemas are bringing a range of shows to the big screen, including the Eurovision Grand Final on the 13th, an exhilarating compilation of Eric Clapton's legendary performances on the 17th, and Pink Floyd's Roger Waters' live broadcast from Prague on the 25th. Book your tickets now at centurycinemas.ie.
What's the difference between the BMW iX and iX3? What's the range of the BMW i4? How do I charge at home? Do I need a wall box?
If you've got questions about switching to electric, then join your local BMW retailer on May 20th for our Find Your BMW Electric event. It's your chance to speak to the experts and test drive an all-electric BMW. Search for your local retailer to register your interest. Test drive subject to conditions and availability.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood footers available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
I think for most parents, and if you're not a parent, you can imagine yourself, the worst thing you can imagine is losing your child. Now imagine if that child, your beautiful son or daughter, died in violent circumstances. Then imagine it is far away, the other side of the world effectively, and then imagine trying to get justice so that in some way or other you could move forward. It's unimaginable, isn't it? It's very hard for us to even imagine how that might feel. But that's exactly, not exactly, sorry, I don't want to put emotions or words into Andrea Brannigan's mouth or mind, but I imagine, Andrea, that's precisely what your life is like mourning the passing of your beautiful daughter Danielle, and then at every turn your efforts to try and get some sort of a justice so you can move forward in one way or other is being denied to you. It must just be a living nightmare for you, Andrea.
It's very tough. It's very hard to move forward when you know you're always like
trying to get. I just would like the trial to be finished. I would like some kind of answers from it. I would like a conclusion date.
What is the situation now, Andrea? At what stage is the trial of this person that has been charged with Danielle's murder?
We're on witness number 16 of 58. So we're kind of still at the start of it. But the last few times he hasn't got to court because the guards have nobody to take him to the courthouse. And one of the occasions they couldn't find him in the jail, so he didn't get to the courthouse either. So but they have 2 weeks' notice to get him to the court. So I don't understand why they don't put this all in place.
And I presume it's difficult for you to get answers. I know you have obviously legal representation there, but Vikat Bhagat went on trial in 2018. We're now midway by the shouting in 2023, and there's no guards taken to court.
He went on trial until 2017. It started in 2017, and it's gone on since that, 6 years.
Okay.
Now in July.
Are you given any explanation as to the issues in getting this person firstly found, which is ridiculous, but then to court? Is this incompetence or is this trial being frustrated purposely?
It looks like if it's been purposely because they do have 2 weeks' notice. I don't understand why they haven't got it in place that there are enough guards there on that particular day to take them to the courthouse. Like they should have that in place. They're not giving no explanation. No, they're just saying they didn't have enough guards on that particular day to take them to court.
This issue was raised in the Dáil by Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin. The Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, said he was fully aware of the acute distress. And he also said the Minister for Foreign Affairs is ensuring a quick conclusion to the court case, that it remains a significant priority for the Irish and British governments. Do you feel enough is being done by, let's focus on the Irish government, to make representations to get this moving forward?
Well, both embassies went to Goa on the 6th of April this year, and they had meetings, and they were promised stuff. But since that meetings were held, nothing at all has happened in court. They are trying, but I would like them to maybe even go to the court. The last time they were there was in 2017. They haven't been at the court since. I would like them to even go, just to maybe be seen, and might help a wee bit.
I think if the right representations were made at the right level, that the Indian court system could be embarrassed into progressing this trial like it should be. I think that's the best option because obviously they're not taking it seriously.
No, they're not taking it seriously. It's all about him and about what suits him. Like last summer, the prison guards were caught and suspended for taking cocaine into him.
How does that make you feel, Andrea?
Hurt and angry. Really angry and really hurt. That look at Danielle hasn't. I know she's passed away, but it gives her and her family and friends rights mean nothing. So it's literally all about what makes them happy.
And what is this Vikat Bhagat person seen as? I mean, is he held in high regard there or something? I mean, guards allegedly bringing in cocaine. He's able to go missing in a jail. It just so happens that guards aren't available to take him to court. I mean, is this a reflection of the Indian judicial system, or is this person getting special treatment?
Well, it looks like he's getting special treatment, because I wouldn't think everybody gets them kind of the rights, the same things that's happening to him.
I mean, what about your rights? What about Danielle's rights?
They're being ignored. Like, I've asked for audio recording that says I could view the courthouse. I've asked both embassies, and I'm asking this since 2017, and it's been rejected by the Indian government and in court. They say they can't do it, but they do it for him.
Mm. All right, okay. As you mentioned, we did have diplomats talking to the relevant authorities at the start of April, Irish and British diplomats in Goa meeting with officials on the matter. That clearly is not moving things along. What else, or just to recap, what do you believe can or should be done at this point from the Irish and British perspective, Andrea?
I think we should get it moved to the High Court and look for it to be fast-tracked, which would mean it would be on more frequent rather than twice a month for 30 minutes. So you're chatting an hour every month.
Yeah. So even if it progressed at that pace with the amount of witnesses to be called, this would run for, 6 months, a year. Who's to say? Even if it went ahead as scheduled.
Well, I know in Delhi there was a situation, and at the time I was promised this was happening in Daniel's case. The girl passed away in January and her court case was over by September.
Right, okay. Right, so if there's a will, there is a way then.
And there was a woman from Latvia that lived in Ireland that was killed in 2018 in India. And her trial finished in December last year.
Right, okay.
So that's over already.
Yeah, okay. So that just actually makes it even. What's different about you? What's different about Danielle's case?
It makes it like you wonder, are you ever going to get any kind of justice? Are you even going to see justice?
I mean, you would, obviously we glad's the wrong word, but at least things have progressed for those families. But that doesn't comfort the situation, the personal situation that you're in. Andrea, thanks for coming on and helping our listeners understand. Again, I'm so sorry with what you're going through. Not just you, but the rest of the family as well, that are all deeply affected by this. And it's just so difficult when you're far away. Any bereavement is, but particularly with everything surrounding this awful case.
I have never seen the courthouses. I've never been to Goa, so
yeah.
It's hard. That is grand. Thank you very much, Greg.
Bye-bye, Andrea. Take care of yourself. Andrea Brannigan, if you're inclined to pray, keep Andrea and her family in your thoughts and prayers as they look to obtain justice in that situation. Right, we were talking about the situation as it relates to Manor, the school at Manor. A caller says, Greg, the signs are too close to the school. Drivers have to drop from 100 kilometres to 60 kilometres in a very short space. To drop 40 kilometres, that's the problem. I get you, I understand. I agree with the speed camera outside the school, but it's against the law to drop the speed limit 100 to 60 without road warning showing 500 metres in advance. And certainly if I got a fine, I'd be appealing it. So there is a problem. As I say, I'm always open to being educated on it. And it seems from what's coming in here, there is the acceptance that the situation there is certainly not ideal. Okay, we'll make inquiries in relation to that.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you're a senior manager in the private sector looking to reinforce your leadership skills, ATU are offering a Level 9 Executive MBS in Leadership and Innovation. Call 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
All right, that means it's Wednesday and the Business Matters podcast from us here at Highland Radio is available for you to listen to right now. Its presenter and producer, I suppose you could say, is Kieran. And Kieran joins us now. Kieran O'Donnell, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good to have you in with us. Right, before we get to the nuts and bolts of the podcast, let's talk about a little bit of news. Major funding for Fort Dunree.
Yes, ongoing story, Greg. Donegal County Council has been awarded grant funding of €9.25 million for Fort Dunree, and that is under Fáilte Ireland's Capital Investment Scheme. This will be supported by $3.2 million matching funding committed by Donegal County Council. So plans for the fort, Greg, are nearing completion, and as part of the consultation process, public and users of the site are being invited to drop into Fort Dunree today up till 8 o'clock this evening and give their feedback to the project team. So more details on the project and the process are available on the council's social platforms.
Yeah, I think they'll be busy today because a lot of people have a lot of views on that.
It's a major investment.
It is.
You've covered it a few times on the programme as well, Greg, and it's great to see it coming to the stage as that. So I suppose this is the last push in terms of maybe bringing people all together, knowing what's going to happen, and the sooner it's up and running, the better for Dunree Free and Inishowen and Donegal.
Yeah, as we heard a little earlier on, and it's good to remind people of the opportunities potentially that are there. Real potential for job creation in the cyber sector.
Yeah, the Northwest region could see a growth in cybersecurity related jobs from 2050 this year to 830, from 250 this year to 830 by 2030, and that's according to a report by Regional Skills Northwest and Cyber Ireland, and both of those partnered with Letterkenny-based IT businesses TCS and Optum for their input. So the report was published yesterday, Greg, and outlines the region's strengths to attract companies seeking new locations for cybersecurity services, while also highlighting improvements needed for the future of the sector.
Yeah, indeed. And as we heard, 30% currently employed of those 250 are from within the Northwest, and there is real scope for people to pursue a job in that area, it would seem. Right. Euthopia?
Yes, indeed.
Was in Raphoe.
Over 150 young people from Donegal and across the Northwest attended a recent Euthopia Future Fair at Oakfield Park in Raphoe. Euthopia is an EU-funded project led by the Assembly of Europe regions in partnership with Donegal County Council. It aims to make sure that young people across Europe understand and are aware of EU cohesion policy and seize the opportunities it offers. So the participants took part in interactive workshops, Greg, focused on career pathways, skills for the future, innovative project design, and creating a professional LinkedIn profile and CV. All good for their personal development and career pathways.
I've been on LinkedIn now for 8 years, not one offer.
You better check it. I sent you a message there about 3 years ago.
Did you? Not one offer.
Right.
No late, no nothing.
They must know you're getting too well looked after here.
I can't say anything now or I'll get my wrist slapped by Fionnuala, but not even, no one slipped into my DMs. Can you imagine? All right, okay. International Fund for Ireland, its latest funding allocation round announced.
Yes, 3 Donegal projects are set to receive AFA peace funding allocations totalling €468,000. AGD Gweedore and Waterside Theatre project will get €79,450. Rathmullen, The Way Forward, CLG and Enterprise Causeway Limited have been allocated €242,000, while Northwest Cultural Partnership and Inishowen Development Partnership is getting €146,000. So this latest round of funding is aimed at supporting some of the most vulnerable communities in Northern Ireland and along the southern border. And a funding package of €4.9 million will provide support to 25 projects across the AFA's 4 programmes.
Significant financial injection to some of those organisations, no doubt about it. Okay. A bar has changed hands in Ballybofey.
Yeah, Henny's You Drop In Ballybofey has been bought by local hotelier Tommy Gillen. The well-known pub on Navan Street, which went on the market, it'll be almost 3 years ago now, with an asking price of $520,000, was sold for an undisclosed sum recently. So Tommy Gillen built Villa Rose in Ballybofey, and then he bought Jackson's Hotel in 2016, and 2 years ago he bought Ancoust Hotel in Gweedore, and we had him on the programme just after that purchase. And the Gillen Group currently employs 300 people, and that is set to increase after this latest acquisition.
Is that the bar in the corner there?
It's across, well, it's Fun Parkers on your left hand side, Navan Street, so come back a bit, and on the right hand side before you come to the shop.
Okay, right.
Yeah, a very famous.
For sure, but you know, just on the top of your head, can't place it. Okay, fair play. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and preview what's coming up in this week's podcast. Kieran will be back with us in just a minute or two.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny, your only official Volkswagen passenger and commercial vehicle dealer for County Donegal. Pop in to visit our showroom on Canal Road, Letterkenny. Speak to a member of our friendly team and drive away in your dream Volkswagen. Book a test drive on 074 91 22 333 or check out our full new and used range at connellys.ie.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008. Don't miss the incredible tumbling paddies in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town on Saturday 13th of May. Tickets are €20 and can be purchased online at abbeyhoteldonegal.com, or you can pay at the door. Don't miss out on this unforgettable night with the tumbling paddies.
Take your taste buds on holiday with Italian-inspired dishes from Dunnes Stores. Mix and match any two for €4 from the chilled section. Delicious 10-inch stone-baked pizzas, all butter garlic bread and fresh-filled pastas. Pair your pasta with our Napolitana, Arrabbiata or tomato and mascarpone sauces. 250-gram pots are 2 for just €3. Plus, with our 10/50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in the next grocery shop of €50 or more.
So we're still in the company of Kieran O'Donnell, and just to let you know, the Business Matters podcast is live for you right now on our website, but don't go anywhere listening to it while I'm still on air. It'll be all right for you.
We'll have to delay it to 12 o'clock.
Okay, well, geez, you can have a fight with John then. Come here, the whole idea of the podcast, though, is you can listen to it whenever you like, and we'll remind people when and where. Right, so what's on this week?
Yeah, on this week's Business Matters, Greg, I am joined by the owner of Archer Stables at Manor Cunningham, Lisa Wallace, and the head of enterprise at Donegal's local enterprise office, Brenda Hegarty. A native of Austria, Lisa Wallace first came to Ireland on a family holiday back in 2012, and soon after she returned to spend 6 months working as an au pair in Galway. And after studying to become a teacher in Austria, she relocated to Donegal in 2017. In January 2020, she decided to work full-time at the stables that are located next to her home. Here, Lisa talks about the best lesson she's learned in business to date.
Well, that's a hard one. I think for me, it's really just to believe in yourself and know that we can achieve anything that we want if we work hard. So when I think about myself, I moved away from a completely different country into a new country and built everything up from scratch and have achieved exactly what I've always wanted in life. Maybe it took me a little bit longer and I didn't achieve it all right away, but I always believed in myself and knew that's what I really wanted, and it did come true eventually.
All right, fascinating wee story, that one, Kieran.
Yeah, look, she up until 2012, she'd never been to Ireland, and I suppose 11 years later, she's here now, married, settled with a family and her own business. I suppose she made the decision on the first day of January 2020, great, to go full-time in the business, and we all know what happened 3 months after that in relation to COVID. But she learned a lot during that time. She has 10 stables next to her house at Galdina, 12 horses, and as she said in that clip, she's extremely content. She's actually achieved what she wants, and she's very happy doing what she's doing.
All right, second guest, Brenda Hegarty.
Yeah, I also spoke to Brenda Hegarty, who is the head of enterprise at Donegal's local enterprise office, about the business cost-saving clinic, and that is taking place in Letterkenny on Monday, May the 22nd. During our conversation, Greg, I asked Brenda why the Donegal local enterprise office is planning an event of this kind at this time.
The local enterprise office is here to help businesses, and specifically now with the rising pressure on businesses around inflationary pressure, rising costs, energy, even costs of labour. So there is a great drive in relation to saving costs and looking for opportunities to save costs. And we have a wide range of free supports available through the local enterprise office, so around digital, green and lean. So we thought we would package these supports into a cost-saving advice clinic. So these 3 supports specifically can help reduce costs, improve productivity and increase the competitiveness of the business. And in so doing, by accessing them, they're actually free. So a lot of them are expert advice. So that's why we wanted to present the opportunity to local businesses on what supports are available through the local enterprise office, that they don't have to invest any money themselves, they can access them free.
Yeah, well worth engaging, Kieran, I think.
Yeah, I suppose the local enterprise office, no more than businesses, they have changed the way that they do things and they approach things as well. They're on the ground, they've got their finger on the pulse. So this is in response to the needs that are out there for businesses. One thing that struck me when I was talking to Brenda, they have 20 different partners that are involved in the sort of multi-agency approach that's around the Donegal, and they all work very, very well together. One of the other things that she talked about was demystifying simplifying the fear factor in the world of digital, and I suppose simplifying the process and maybe how to manage data to drive sales and improve production for businesses, which ultimately is the aim. But that event is coming up later in the month in Letterkenny, and will be well worth coming along. And I suppose the other point that Brenda made was maybe for businesses and business owners maybe to take a wee bit of time away from the business doing it again to maybe focus on how they run the business.
All right, the great thing about podcasts is you're often not constrained by time, so you can hear the full interviews with Lisa Wallace and Brenda Hegarty. They're available now to download, to stream, I should say, firstly on highlandradio.com. You can also download it to listen at your leisure, or you can get it on Spotify or iTunes. And for people who just like to listen to scheduled radio, it's on air when? On Sunday?
Yeah, on Sunday evening, Greg, after the 6 o'clock news.
And if someone wants to get in touch with the programme, email the best way, Kieran?
Yeah, please, businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
So that's for any feedback, any press releases, any kind of suggestions, or anything really.
Yeah, any leads, any contacts will be all gratefully received.
Okay. What episode are you on now?
144.
Right, very, very impressive. Okay, brilliant stuff, Kieran. And by the way, those, I say it, and I'll say it again, those podcasts remain there for you to listen at your leisure. There's an awful lot of contact there, and getting the views and opinions and experiences of some of the best business brains right across the Northwest. You'd agree with that, Kieran?
100%. There's a great story in everybody.
Yeah, all right, great stuff. Kieran O'Donnell, presenter of the Business Matters podcast from us here at Highland Radio. Thank you very much indeed. Kieran will be back with you on this programme next Wednesday. I just want to mention that A Parent's Right are holding an information evening this evening. It's at 7 p.m. on the RSE programme. It's upstairs at Backstage in Letterkenny. Everybody is welcome. So I said I'd give that a mention, and there you are. This caller says, I was in Letterkenny Hospital yesterday in Scally Place when leaving. I was searching for the way out. I walked down a corridor and came to a door with no exit posted on it. I turned around and walked to the other end of the corridor without seeing any exit door. I eventually met a worker who directed me back to the door with no exit on it. You actually go through that door and the exit door is just inside. Who's responsible for this confusing and nonsensical signage? That would be no good for me because I have a bad sense of direction outside. But see, trying to find a hotel room or something, or trying to get out of a building. I was, and this is no joke, when we were over in Brussels doing the show, it took me, and I wasn't able to admit it to anyone for fear of being slagged at the time, it took me 3/4 of an hour to get out of the building. I could not find my way out, and I didn't have the... I don't know why. I didn't want to ask anyone. I did ask one person and then got lost again, so after that I gave in. Greg, 24 people landed on the moon, says Aaron in Buncrana, but people only talk about the first. Right, I take your point, but there are many people out there that have their doubts, and maybe my critical mind, I'm not saying I'm one of them, but I don't know. All right then, folks. See you tomorrow morning at 9. Thanks to Caroline Orr, who researched and produced, and Neve, who works on the show too. John Breslin's coming up around the Northwest after the news at 12.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by